Hey guys, tonight we journey into the deepest mysteries of the Star Wars galaxy, back to an era when the first beings to master the Force ruled not as guardians of peace, but as absolute monarchs wielding power that could reshape worlds. The ancient Jedi Lords, beings whose very names have been lost to 30,000 years of galactic history. These were not the humble Jedi Knights you know from the films. These were Force dynasties that commanded star systems and built monuments that still pulse with dark energy today. So before you settle in for this epic journey through forgotten galactic history, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy these deep dives into Star Wars lore. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world for these ancient galactic mysteries. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. Get comfortable in your blanket, and let's ease into tonight's journey together through the forgotten epochs of the Star Wars universe. 36,000 years before Luke Skywalker would ever ignite a lightsaber, before the Republic existed, before the Jedi Order was even a dream, the galaxy trembled under the rule of beings whose power defied comprehension. On the red sands of Karabin, a king sat upon a throne carved from a single massive kyber crystal, his eyes burning with the accumulated rage of 3 centuries of absolute dominion. His name was Adus, and he was the first to discover that the Force was not merely a mystical energy field to be touched and channeled, but a cosmic throne to be claimed and ruled from. For 300 years, this ancient Sith king had commanded not just armies and star fleets, but the very fabric of reality itself. But on this night, as twin moons cast their pale light through the obsidian spires of his palace, King Adus felt something that had been foreign to him for centuries: fear. Through the Force, he sensed the approach of ships unlike any his vast empire had ever encountered. Vessels that moved through hyperspace with technology that seemed to merge seamlessly with Force energy in ways that made his own achievements seem primitive. The Rakata had come to Korriban. From the bridge of their impossible starships, beings of amphibian grace and predatory intelligence gazed down upon King Adus's empire with a calculating stare of collectors, examining a particularly interesting specimen. They had crossed the galaxy not as conquerors, but as architects of a project so vast that individual worlds were merely components in a construction that spanned the stars themselves. The Rakata had spent 30,000 years perfecting what they called guided evolution. They did not simply conquer civilizations, they harvested them, selecting the most Force-sensitive specimens and elevating them to positions of absolute power over their own species. These chosen rulers became the Infinite Empire's regional governors, Force-wielding monarchs who maintained order while unknowingly serving purposes they could never comprehend. King Adus, for all his power and centuries of experience, was about to learn that he had been playing a game whose rules he had never understood. His 300-year reign, his mastery of the dark side, his transcendence of death itself, all had been carefully observed and quietly guided by intelligences that viewed his achievements as a successful experiment. But the Rakata themselves were not the apex of this cosmic manipulation. They too served masters whose origins stretched back to the very formation of the galaxy itself. In the deepest vaults of their Starforge, ancient records spoke of the architects who had first taught them to harness the Force for purposes that transcended individual ambition. The Celestials, beings of such profound power that they had literally reshaped the galaxy's structure, moving star systems and constructing installations that still influenced galactic development, millions of years after their disappearance. King Adus rose from his crystal throne as the first Rakata landing craft pierced Korriban's atmosphere, their hulls gleaming with Force-infused metals. He did not know that this moment had been anticipated for millennia. He did not understand that his every achievement had been part of a test. What he did know, with the terrible clarity that comes to those who have stared into the heart of the Force itself, was that everything he believed about power, about mastery, about the nature of existence itself was about to be shattered. The first ancient Jedi Lord was about to discover that he had never been first at all, but merely the latest inheritor of a throne whose true occupants had been absent for so long that their very existence had become myth. But even myths, as King Adas was about to learn, cast shadows that could reach across eternity. 36,000 years after King Adas first felt the shadow of the Rakata fall across his throne, the ancient mysteries of the galaxy's first Force dynasties remain buried beneath layers of myth, legend, and deliberate concealment. You are Dr. Kale Drayson, a Jedi archaeologist whose gift for psychometry allows you to read the emotional imprints left behind by those who wielded the Force in ages past. Unlike the warrior Jedi who patrol the galaxy's borders, you are seeker of truth, a reader of ancient stones, someone who can touch a lightsaber crystal and experience the hopes and fears of the Jedi who first ignited it millennia ago. Your ship, the Seeker's Vision, drifts now in the outer rim of the Stygian caldera, that treacherous region of space where gravitational anomalies and hyperspace shadows have hidden the tombs of the ancient Sith for thousands of years. Through your viewport, you can see the crimson glow of Korriban's twin suns casting their bloody light across a world whose very sand is composed of crushed bone and crystallized blood from countless ages of warfare. But you are not here alone in this quest to uncover the origins of the galaxy's first Force rulers. Standing beside you in the ship's observation deck is Master Kira Carson, a Jedi historian whose silver hair and ancient eyes hold memories of texts that predate the Republic itself. Her knowledge of the pre-schism era, when the Force was understood as a balance between light and dark rather than a choice between good and evil, makes her invaluable for interpreting the conflicting records that speak of beings who ruled through the Force before the Jedi Order was even conceived. The gravitational readings are extraordinary, Master Kira observes, her voice carrying the weight of someone who has spent decades studying phenomena that most Jedi prefer to leave undisturbed. Korriban's mass should not be sufficient to create the space-time distortions we're detecting. Something beneath the planet's surface is generating artificial gravity wells that have been stable for millennia. Behind you both, the soft mechanical sounds of Archive Keeper Nostdural provide a steady backdrop of scholarly efficiency. The ancient Keeper's vast memory banks contain fragments of information from the deepest vaults of the Jedi archives, records so sensitive that most masters have never been granted access to them. His presence on this expedition represents the Temple's growing concern about the increasing frequency of Force disturbances emanating from ancient Sith worlds. Historical correlation confirms Master Carson's observations. Nostdural reports in his measured scholarly tone. Korriban's current mass distribution is inconsistent with natural planetary formation. Archaeological surveys from the Darth Revan era documented massive underground complexes that extend to the planet's core, but those surveys were incomplete and their findings classified. As your ship descends through Korriban's thin atmosphere, the landscape below reveals itself to be a monument to 30,000 years of Sith occupation. Vast pyramidal tombs stretch to every horizon, their dark stone surfaces carved with hieroglyphs that seem to shift and writhe when observed directly. The Valley of the Dark Lord spreads before you like an open wound in the planet's crust, its ancient sepulchres containing the remains of Sith Lords whose names have become curses whispered in the deepest meditation chambers of the Jedi Temple. But it is not the familiar tombs of relatively recent Sith Lords that draw your attention. It is the sense of presence, of watching consciousness, that emanates from structures so ancient that they predate any known Sith dynasty. These buildings, if they can be called buildings, seem to have been grown rather than constructed. their organic curves and impossible angles suggesting technologies that merged force manipulation with architectural principles that transcend normal understanding of space and matter. "I can feel them," you whisper, placing your hand against the viewport as the seeker's vision settles onto a landing platform that appears to have been carved directly into the living rock of a cliff face. There are minds in those ancient structures, not living minds, but something else. Consciousness that has been preserved in ways that our psychometry training never prepared us to understand. Master Kira nods slowly, her force sensitivity allowing her to perceive the same disturbing presence that has captured your attention. The earliest Jedi texts speak of techniques for binding consciousness to physical objects, methods that were forbidden because they violated the natural cycle of death and rebirth. If such techniques were actually practiced by the ancient rulers of Korriban, we may be walking into tombs that contain more than simple remains. The landing platform extends beneath your ship with movement so smooth and organic that it becomes clear this entire cliff face is not natural stone, but some form of force-responsive material that has been shaped and molded by will rather than carved by tools. As you power down the ship's systems, you can hear something that makes your blood run cold. Whispers in ancient Sith dialects, voices speaking words of power and dominion that seem to emanate from the very rock beneath your feet. Nostradamus sensors are already detecting energy patterns that match theoretical models for consciousness preservation technology from the earliest periods of Sith civilization. Fascinating. The archive keeper reports, his scholarly excitement barely contained by his measured delivery. The quantum signatures are consistent with techniques described in the Tellus holocron, but the scale and sophistication exceed anything documented in our historical records. Master Kira activates the ship's exit ramp, and immediately the air that flows into the cabin carries with it something more than the metallic tang of ancient stone and dried blood. It carries the essence of power, the lingering presence of minds that touched the deepest mysteries of the Force and left part of themselves behind as warnings for those who would follow in their footsteps. As you step onto the surface of Korriban, the whispers become more distinct, resolving into fragments of conversation in languages that predate any known Sith dialect. You hear discussions of power that span star systems, debates about the nature of the Force that reveal understanding far more sophisticated than anything achieved by later Sith philosophers, and most disturbing of all, references to masters and servants in relationships that suggest the ancient Sith Lords themselves served powers they dared not name directly. "Do you hear them?" Master Kira asks softly, her own psychometric abilities allowing her to perceive the phantom conversations that dance at the edge of perception. "They were arguing," you confirm, kneeling to place your palm against the dark stone of the landing platform. The moment your skin makes contact, the visions become clearer, more vivid. You see the construction of the ancient tombs, the careful arrangement of consciousness preservation matrices, the slow and methodical work of beings who understood they were creating monuments that would need to function for tens of thousands of years. But you also sense something else, a hierarchy, a chain of command that extended far beyond Korriban itself. The ancient Sith Lords, for all their power and arrogance, were taking orders from entities whose nature and motivations remained hidden even from their most trusted servants. Nostradamus' sensors sweep across the ancient structures, recording everything while simultaneously comparing the visual data to fragments of information stored in the deepest archives. "Correlation detected," he announces with barely contained excitement. These architectural patterns match descriptions found in the Rakatan Codex, references to what the Infinite Empire called caretaker installations established on worlds with significant Force-sensitive populations. The Infinite Empire. The name resonates through your mind like a bell struck in a deep cavern. You have studied the scattered references to the Rakatar and their 30,000-year galactic domination, but those references were fragmentary and contradictory. Standing here, feeling the presence of minds that once served as regional governors for galactic-spanning civilization, you realize that everything the Jedi archives contain about the Infinite Empire represents only the smallest fraction of a story whose true scope defies comprehension. The Rakata chose them, Master Kira realizes, her force sensitivity allowing her to perceive the same hierarchical relationships that your psychometry has revealed. The ancient Sith Lords were not independent rulers but appointed governors, force-sensitive beings selected and elevated by the Infinite Empire to maintain control over this sector of the galaxy. The revelation transforms your understanding of everything you thought you knew about the origins of the Sith tradition. King Adus and his successors were not the galaxy's first Force rulers, but inheritors of a system of governance that had been established by intelligences whose technological and mystical capabilities made even the most powerful Sith Lords seem like children playing with forces they barely understood. As you stand together on this ancient world, surrounded by tombs that contain the preserved consciousness of beings who ruled star systems in the name of masters they served but never truly knew, you realize that your investigation into the origins of the ancient Jedi Lords has only just begun to reveal the layers of mystery that surround the galaxy's earliest Force traditions. The ancient Jedi vault discovered beneath the Korriban archives contains records that predate the Republic by 20,000 years, holographic data crystals whose quantum matrices have preserved information that challenges every assumption about the origins of Force traditions in the galaxy. As you activate the primary viewing chamber, ghostly blue figures materialize in the air before you, speaking in dialects so archaic that even Master Kira's extensive linguistic knowledge struggles to provide complete translations. The first recording shows a figure whose species you cannot immediately identify, tall and graceful with features that seem to shift between organic flesh and crystalline energy patterns. When he speaks, his voice carries harmonics that resonate directly in your force-sensitive consciousness, bypassing your ears entirely to communicate meaning through pure intent. I am Rajavari, last keeper of the ancient ways, and I record this testimony in the final days before the schism that will divide the Force traditions forever. The figure intones, his image flickering as quantum degradation corrupts the edges of the recording. What I tell you now has been hidden from the galaxy for 30 millennia, knowledge too dangerous to preserve yet too vital to lose entirely. Master Kira's eyes widen with recognition and scholarly excitement. Rajivari, she breathes, her voice filled with the reverence reserved for legendary figures. The Jedi texts speak of him as the Great Dissenter, the one who opposed the Temple's decision to abandon the ancient contracts with the star-spanning powers. But the historical records claim he was executed for heresy 25,000 years ago. Gonosdural sensors focus intently on the holographic projection, analyzing quantum signatures and energy patterns with mechanical precision. The recording's authenticity markers are consistent with Durordi archival standards from the pre-schism period. He confirms, if genuine, this represents the oldest known recording of a named individual in galactic history. Rajavari's image continues, seemingly aware that he is addressing viewers across vast spans of time. The Force wielders who rule this galaxy in my time believe themselves to be the first, the originators of power that spans star systems and commands the obedience of entire species. They do not know, because we have chosen not to tell them, that their dynasties are merely the latest iteration of a pattern that has repeated itself across deep time. The hologram shifts, displaying star charts that show the galaxy as it existed 30,000 years ago, when the hyperlanes were younger and entire sectors remained unexplored by any known civilization. Points of light pulse across the display, marking worlds where Force-sensitive dynasties had established their rule under the guidance of powers whose origins stretched back to the galaxy's formation. Behold the network of dominion, Rajivari explains, his crystalline features reflecting the light of the star chart. 144 worlds, each ruled by a Force dynasty that believed itself supreme within its domain. What they did not understand was that their rise to power had been carefully orchestrated by intelligences that viewed their achievements as components in a vast experiment spanning multiple galactic civilizations. You lean forward, your psychometric abilities automatically reaching out to touch the emotional imprints embedded within the ancient recording. What you sense makes your breath catch in your throat. These are not the simple power-hungry tyrants described in Jedi historical texts, but beings whose complexity and depth of understanding rivals anything achieved by the most enlightened Force masters of the modern era. Through your gift, you experience fragments of their consciousness, feeling the weight of responsibility they carried as guardians of knowledge that could reshape the fundamental nature of reality. They were scholars as much as rulers, philosophers as much as conquerors, beings who understood that their power came with obligations that extended far beyond their individual lifespans, or even the survival of their species. The network operated under protocols established by our predecessors. Rajivari continues, his voice carrying undertones of both pride and sorrow. Each dynasty maintained independence within its sphere, while contributing to larger purposes that individual rulers were never permitted to fully comprehend. This compartmentalization was necessary because the complete truth about our origins and purposes was considered too dangerous for any single intelligence to possess. Master Kira's Force sensitivity allows her to perceive the same emotional complexity that your psychometry has revealed. They were not tyrants, she realizes, her voice filled with wonder and growing concern. They were guardians, keepers of responsibilities that they could never fully understand but dared not abandon. The weight of that burden must have been extraordinary. The recording shifts again, showing detailed schematics of Force-responsive technologies that integrate crystalline matrices with organic neural networks. These devices appear to serve as communication nodes, allowing the Force dynasties to coordinate their activities across galactic distances while maintaining the secrecy necessary for their larger mission. The network's primary function was preservation, Rajivari explains, his image gesturing toward technical diagrams that hurt to observe directly, their geometric patterns seeming to exist in more dimensions than normal space can accommodate. We were tasked with maintaining the stability of Force traditions during a period of cosmic transition, ensuring that the knowledge and capabilities developed by previous galactic civilizations would not be lost when their successors inevitably emerged. The Nostiral's analysis systems struggled to process the technical information displayed in the holographic projections. Extraordinary, he reports, his optical sensors flickering as they attempt to record data that exceeds their design parameters. These schematics describe technologies that integrate quantum consciousness manipulation with what appears to be controlled space-time distortion. The power requirements alone would exceed the output of most stellar cores. The revelation that the ancient Force dynasties possessed technologies capable of manipulating space and time itself transforms your understanding of what these beings were truly capable of achieving. The tombs and monuments scattered across worlds like Korriban suddenly seem less like burial sites and more like components in a technological network of incomprehensible sophistication. Our masters were the inheritors of the celestial legacy, Rajivari continues, his voice taking on tones of reverence that suggest he is speaking of beings whose nature transcends normal understanding of consciousness and identity. The architects who shaped the galaxy's structure, the gardeners who guided the evolution of consciousness across millions of worlds, the shepherds who watched over the development of civilizations spanning cosmic epochs. They had withdrawn from direct involvement in galactic affairs, but their influence remained through the systems they had established and the beings they had chosen to serve as caretakers. The implications of this revelation cascade through your consciousness like lightning through a crystal matrix. The galaxy itself is revealed to be an artificial construction, deliberately shaped and maintained by intelligences whose capabilities dwarf anything achieved by purely natural evolution. Every major feature of galactic geography, from the core worlds to the outer rim, represents conscious design rather than cosmic accident. Master Kira's scholarly background allows her to grasp the full scope of what Rajivari is describing. The entire galaxy is a managed environment, she whispers, her voice barely audible as the magnitude of the revelation overwhelms her ability to process it normally. The hyperlanes, the distribution of habitable worlds, the emergence of force-sensitive species in specific regions and time periods, all of it represents deliberate engineering on a scale that transcends the capabilities of any known civilization. The recording continues, but Rajivari's image begins to show signs of distress, his crystalline features flickering as if the act of revealing these secrets is causing him physical pain. The network of dominion was scheduled to transfer authority to younger species when specific developmental milestones were achieved. We were never intended to rule permanently, but to serve as bridges between the celestial epoch and whatever civilization would prove worthy of inheriting their legacy. Through your psychometric connection to the recording, you sense the tragedy that underlies Rajivari's testimony. The transfer of authority he describes was not a peaceful transition, but a catastrophic failure that scattered the Force dynasties across the galaxy and left their accumulated knowledge fragmented among dozens of competing traditions. The schism came when we discovered that our chosen successors were not developing according to the parameters established by our masters. Rajivari explains, his voice heavy with the weight of failure and betrayal. The Jedi who were selected to inherit the network's responsibilities began to fragment the Force into arbitrary divisions of light and dark, good and evil, order and chaos. They lost sight of the greater balance that our masters had spent millions of years establishing. The holographic display shows images of the Jedi temple complex on Tython during the period when the Force traditions began to split into what would eventually become the Jedi and Sith orders. You can see the philosophical debates that raged in those ancient halls, discussions that seemed abstract and theoretical, but were actually determining the fate of galactic civilization for millennia to come. We tried to preserve the unity of the Force traditions, Rajivari continues, his image now clearly struggling against some form of degradation that seems to be attacking the recording from within. But the younger species were too attached to their individual perspectives, too limited in their understanding of cosmic scope to accept the responsibilities we were prepared to transfer to them. The schism became inevitable when they chose ideological purity over practical effectiveness. Donosdural's sensors detect massive energy fluctuations emanating from the quantum matrices containing Rajivari's testimony. Warning, he announces, his voice carrying urgent concern. The recording appears to be self-destructing. The information we are accessing may have been programmed to erase itself after a single viewing to prevent its contents from being preserved or copied. You realize that you are witnessing something that was never intended to survive the being who created it. Rajivari's testimony is not just a historical record but a final confession, a desperate attempt to preserve some fragment of truth about the galaxy's origins before the knowledge is lost forever. The dynasties scattered when the network fell. Rajivari's image continues, now barely visible through the quantum static that is consuming the recording. Some retreated to the unknown regions, where they established hidden enclaves that maintain the old ways in secret. Others chose to integrate with the emerging galactic civilizations, becoming the founders of Force traditions that preserve fragments of ancient knowledge without revealing its true significance. Master Kira's Force sensitivity allows her to perceive patterns within the degrading hologram that suggest hidden meaning embedded within Rajivari's final words. He is not just telling us what happened. She realizes with growing excitement and terror, he is providing coordinates, locations where the surviving dynasties established their hidden strongholds. This recording is a map to knowledge that has been lost for 25,000 years. The revelation that surviving Force dynasties might still exist in hidden enclaves throughout the galaxy transforms your archaeological expedition into something far more dangerous and significant. You are no longer simply studying ancient history, but potentially making contact with living inheritors of power and knowledge that predates the Republic itself. As Rajivari's image begins its final dissolution, consumed by quantum degradation protocols that ensure his testimony can never be fully preserved, his voice carries one last message across the vast span of time that separates his era from your own. Seek the throne of balance on the world that remembers the first compact, he whispers, his words barely audible through the increasing static. There you will find the key to understanding why the ancient powers withdrew and what conditions must be met for their return. But beware, for knowledge of our origins carries obligations that span cosmic epochs, and once accepted, such responsibilities cannot be abandoned without consequences that affect the fate of all consciousness in the galaxy. The recording dissolves into quantum static, leaving behind only the faint resonance of power that suggests you have witnessed something whose significance extends far beyond historical curiosity. Rajivari's testimony has revealed that your investigation into the origins of ancient Jedi Lords is actually an exploration of responsibilities and obligations that connect directly to the fundamental forces shaping galactic civilization. As the three of you stand in the silent chamber, surrounded by the gentle hum of ancient technologies and the weight of revelations that challenge everything you thought you knew about the Force and its traditions, you realize that your quest has evolved from academic research into something that could determine the future relationship between consciousness and cosmic power throughout the galaxy. The throne that Rajivari mentioned awaits somewhere in the vast darkness of space, holding secrets that the galaxy's oldest intelligences considered too important to lose and too dangerous to preserve openly. Your journey to understand the ancient Jedi Lords has become a search for knowledge that could restore the balance between individual ambition and cosmic responsibility, but only if you prove worthy of the burdens that such understanding inevitably brings. The coordinates embedded within Rajivari's dissolving testimony lead you to a system that exists in the gap between known star charts. A region of space where gravitational anomalies and hyperspace distortions have hidden secrets for millennia. The world that appears on your sensors defies easy classification, its surface covered with structures that seem to grow from the planet itself rather than being constructed upon it. As the seeker's vision approaches the mysterious world, you can feel something awakening in response to your presence, ancient systems stirring to life after eons of dormancy. Master Kira's analysis of the planetary energy signatures reveals patterns that correlate with descriptions found in the deepest Jedi archives. "This is it," she breathes, her voice filled with scholarly excitement and profound apprehension. "The world that remembers the first compact, the planet where the original agreements between the celestial architects and their chosen caretakers were established and sealed through Force rituals that bound consciousness across cosmic time. The surface features that resolve as you descend through the planet's atmosphere challenge every assumption about architecture and engineering that your education has provided. Massive spires twist impossibly through three-dimensional space, their surfaces covered with symbols that seem to shift and change depending on the angle of observation. These are not buildings in any conventional sense, but crystallized manifestations of Force energy that have been shaped by will and maintained by intent across vast spans of time. Nostural's sensors struggle to process the contradictory readings emanating from the planetary surface. "Fascinating," he reports, his mechanical voice carrying undertones of confusion that suggest his analytical protocols are encountering phenomena beyond their programming parameters. The structures appear to exist in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. My instruments detect solid matter, pure energy, and something that registers as neither but partakes of the characteristics of both. As you establish orbit around the enigmatic world, your psychometric abilities begin to resonate with emanations from the surface that carry emotional imprints of extraordinary complexity and age. Through your gift, you sense the presence of minds that have experienced consciousness on scales that transcend individual identity, beings whose thoughts encompass galactic time periods, and whose emotions reflect the weight of responsibilities that span cosmic epochs. The first landing site you select appears to be a vast plaza surrounded by structures whose geometry suggests they were designed to facilitate gatherings of beings whose nature exceeds normal parameters of size and form. As your ship settles onto a surface that feels more like crystallized thought than solid matter, you realize that you are walking in footsteps left by the galaxy's original Force Masters, beings whose understanding of power and responsibility established the foundations upon which all subsequent Force traditions would be built. Master Kira steps from the ship with the reverence of a pilgrim entering the most sacred of temples. Her Force sensitivity allows her to perceive layers of meaning embedded within the architectural forms surrounding you, patterns that suggest this location served as a nexus point where different forms of consciousness could interact safely despite vast differences in their fundamental nature. The resonance is extraordinary, she observes, her voice dropping to whispered tones, as if speaking too loudly might disturb something that should remain undisturbed. I can sense conversations that took place here millions of years ago, discussions between beings whose consciousness operated on scales that make our own awareness seem limited and parochial by comparison. Through your psychometric connection to the ancient plaza, you begin to experience fragments of those primordial conversations, sensing the presence of minds that thought in terms of galactic evolution and cosmic development rather than the individual concerns that dominate modern consciousness. These beings discussed the management of civilizations with the same casual attention that contemporary politicians might devote to local administrative issues. The central structure in the plaza draws your attention with an almost magnetic pull that suggests it serves as more than mere architecture. As you approach what appears to be a throne carved from a single massive crystal, your Force sensitivity detects resonances that indicate this artifact has served as a focal point for power that transcends anything documented in known history. The throne itself defies conventional understanding of scale and proportion. It appears simultaneously large enough to accommodate beings of enormous physical stature and perfectly sized for human occupation, as if its dimensions adjust themselves to match the nature of whoever approaches it. The crystal from which it is carved pulses with internal light that follows no pattern your scientific training can explain, its rhythms seeming to match cosmic cycles that operate on timescales measured in millions of years. Gurnost Durrell's analysis of the throne's composition reveals materials that should not exist according to current understanding of physics and chemistry. Remarkable, he reports, his sensors detecting quantum signatures that suggest the throne's substance exists in states that transcend normal matter. The crystalline matrix appears to be composed of crystallized space-time itself, matter that has been compressed and shaped through techniques that manipulate the fundamental forces of reality. As you place your hand upon the throne's armrest, your psychometric abilities explode into activity, flooding your consciousness with impressions and memories that span vast epochs of galactic history. Through your gift, you experience the throne's purpose as a communication device, a means by which beings of transcendent power could coordinate their activities across galactic distances and through cosmic time periods that exceed the lifespans of entire civilizations. The first clear memory that emerges from your contact with the throne shows you the galaxy as it existed before any known civilization achieved spaceflight, a vast collection of worlds where consciousness was just beginning to evolve beyond purely survival-oriented concerns. In this primordial epoch, beings of incomprehensible power and wisdom established the systems that would guide the development of awareness across millions of worlds and billions of years. Through the throne's preserved memories, you witness the establishment of the First Compact, an agreement between cosmic intelligences that established the principles by which consciousness would be allowed to evolve within the carefully managed environment of the galaxy. The compact was not a simple treaty, but a complex arrangement of responsibilities and obligations that ensured the stability of cosmic development while allowing for the creative chaos necessary for genuine growth. Master Kira's connection to the throne through the Force allows her to perceive complementary aspects of the memories you are experiencing through psychometry. The compact established the network of dominion as a management system. She realizes, her voice filled with awe, as the scope of ancient planning becomes apparent. The Force dynasties that ruled individual worlds and sectors were components in a vast organizational structure designed to maintain balance between order and chaos, growth and stability, individual development and cosmic responsibility. The memories preserved within the throne reveal that the beings who established the first compact possessed understanding of consciousness development that makes modern Force philosophy seem primitive by comparison. They viewed individual awareness as one stage in an evolutionary process that ultimately leads to cosmic consciousness, the integration of all sentient beings into a unified intelligence that encompasses the entire galaxy. But the throne's memories also reveal the great tragedy that befell the compact's architects. As you delve deeper into the crystallized experiences, you encounter records of a cosmic catastrophe that forced the withdrawal of the galaxy's original guardians, leaving their carefully established systems to operate without direct supervision for millions of years. The catastrophe appears to have originated from beyond the galaxy itself, a threat so vast and immediate that even beings capable of manipulating space-time were forced to abandon their long-term projects in order to address an emergency that threatened the stability of consciousness throughout the local galactic cluster. The throne's memories show massive constructions being hastily abandoned, communication networks falling silent, and caretaker species suddenly finding themselves responsible for maintaining systems whose purpose and operation they only partially understood. Gandus Darul's analysis of the quantum fluctuations accompanying your psychometric exploration reveals additional layers of information embedded within the throne's crystalline matrix. Intriguing, he announces, his mechanical voice carrying notes of scientific excitement. The throne appears to contain active communication protocols, dormant systems that could potentially establish contact with whatever remains of the original compact's architects. The possibility that the throne could serve as a communication device, linking your expedition to the galaxy's original Force Masters, fills you with equal measures of excitement and terror. The knowledge such contact could provide would revolutionize understanding of the Force and its traditions, but the responsibilities that might accompany such knowledge could prove overwhelming for minds that have not been prepared for cosmic consciousness. As you continue your psychometric exploration of the throne's memories, you encounter records of the training programs established by the compact's architects to prepare younger species for the responsibilities of cosmic consciousness. These programs were designed to span thousands of generations, gradually elevating the awareness and capabilities of promising civilizations until they could assume the duties of galactic management. The Force dynasties that Rajivari described were graduates of these training programs, beings whose consciousness had been expanded and refined through careful guidance until they could serve as effective intermediaries between cosmic intelligence and the individual awareness of their respective species. Their rule was not arbitrary tyranny, but the exercise of responsibilities that required wisdom and power beyond anything achievable through purely natural development. Master Kira's exploration of the throne's Force resonances reveals additional information about the nature of the training programs and their ultimate objectives. The goal was integration, she realizes, her voice reflecting the profound implications of what she is discovering. Not the domination of individual consciousness by cosmic awareness, but the voluntary evolution of intelligence toward forms that could participate consciously in galactic management, while retaining the creativity and spontaneity that make individual consciousness valuable. The throne's memories show you examples of species that successfully completed the training programs, civilizations that achieved the balance between individual identity and cosmic responsibility that the compact's architects considered essential for galactic stability. These successful graduates became the foundation species for galactic civilization, establishing the hyperlane networks, the distribution of habitable worlds, and the emergence of force-sensitive bloodlines, according to patterns designed to optimize consciousness development across vast timescales. But the memories also reveal the failures, species that could not adapt to the responsibilities of cosmic consciousness and either destroyed themselves through the misuse of transcendent power or retreated into isolation to avoid the burdens that such power inevitably brings. The failed experiments left scars throughout the galaxy, regions of space where consciousness development was distorted or blocked entirely by the traumatic consequences of evolutionary experiments that exceeded their subjects' capacity for adaptation. As your exploration of the throne's preserved memories continues, you begin to understand that your expedition has discovered more than historical artifacts or ancient technologies. You have found the key to understanding the fundamental purpose underlying all Force traditions and the ultimate destiny that consciousness evolution is designed to achieve within the carefully managed environment of the galaxy. The throne begins to respond more actively to your continued contact, its internal light patterns shifting to frequencies that suggest it is attempting to establish active communication rather than simply sharing passive memories. Through your psychometric connection, you sense the awakening of systems that have been dormant for cosmic epochs, protocols designed to evaluate whether the beings accessing the throne possess the wisdom and stability necessary for renewed contact with the compact's architects. Seguridural's sensors detect massive energy buildups throughout the plaza as the throne's activation triggers responses from other structures in the complex. Warning, he announces, his voice carrying urgent concern as his analysis systems struggle to process readings that exceed their design parameters. The entire facility appears to be coming online. We may have inadvertently activated a system whose purpose and capabilities are beyond our current understanding. The realization that your investigation has triggered the awakening of technologies designed by cosmic intelligences fills you with both exhilaration and profound apprehension. The knowledge contained within these systems could provide answers to questions that have puzzled Force scholars for millennia, but the activation of such ancient and powerful technologies could also expose your expedition to dangers that no conventional preparation could address. As energy patterns cascade through the crystalline structures surrounding the plaza, you realize that your quest to understand the origins of the ancient Jedi Lords has evolved into something far more significant and potentially dangerous. The throne that Rajavari directed you to discover is not simply a repository of historical information, but an active component in a cosmic management system that has been waiting for millions of years for beings worthy of renewing the responsibilities it represents. Standing before the awakening throne, your hand still in contact with its crystalline surface, as ancient systems evaluate your consciousness for worthiness to receive knowledge that could reshape galactic civilization, you understand that the next phase of your investigation will determine not only your own fate, but potentially the future development of consciousness throughout the galaxy. The throne's evaluation process unfolds over several hours, during which crystalline structures throughout the plaza pulse with increasing intensity as ancient systems analyze your consciousness, your motivations, and your capacity to handle knowledge that has been sealed away for cosmic epochs. When the assessment finally concludes, the throne's response seems almost anticlimactic in its simplicity. A single holographic interface materializes above the crystal surface, displaying what appears to be a comprehensive database of information about the galaxy's force-using civilizations. Master Kira approaches the interface with scholarly excitement, her force sensitivity allowing her to perceive the vast scope of information contained within the throne's databases. Extraordinary, she breathes, her voice filled with wonder as she begins to access records that span millions of years of galactic history. This is a complete archive of every Force tradition that has ever existed, from the earliest experiments in consciousness manipulation to the most recent developments in Jedi and Sith philosophy. The database reveals that the ancient Jedi Lords were not the mysterious cosmic entities that earlier evidence had suggested, but rather the products of a systematic training program designed to prepare promising individuals for positions of responsibility within the galactic management structure. The throne's records show detailed profiles of hundreds of Force dynasties, each one carefully selected and developed according to criteria that emphasized wisdom, stability, and the capacity for long-term thinking. Thus, Durrell's analysis of the database structure reveals organizational principles that suggest the information has been compiled and maintained by intelligences with profound understanding of consciousness development. Fascinating, he reports, his optical sensors flickering as they process data streams of unprecedented complexity. The database appears to be organized according to developmental stages rather than chronological periods, suggesting that its creators viewed consciousness evolution as a predictable process with identifiable milestones. Through your psychometric connection to the throne, you begin to understand the training methodologies used to transform ordinary Force-sensitive individuals into the cosmic administrators known as ancient Jedi Lords. The process involved exposing candidates to gradually increasing levels of responsibility and power, allowing them to develop the wisdom and emotional stability necessary for making decisions that could affect the development of entire civilizations. The throne's records show that King Adus, whose reign you had initially viewed as an example of primitive tyranny, was actually a graduate of the most advanced training programs available to Force users of his era. His 300-year rule over Cariban was not arbitrary despotism, but the careful administration of a sector whose development required the kind of long-term perspective that only transcendent consciousness could provide. They were not conquerors, Master Kira realizes as she explores the database's detailed records of individual Force dynasties. They were administrators, beings who had been trained and prepared to serve as intermediaries between cosmic intelligence and the everyday concerns of individual civilizations. Their power was granted to them as a tool for fulfilling responsibilities rather than as a reward for personal achievement. The revelation transforms your understanding of the historical conflicts between different Force traditions. The wars that had seemed to represent fundamental philosophical differences were actually disagreements about the proper methods for fulfilling administrative responsibilities. The ancient Sith and Jedi were not enemies, but colleagues who had developed different approaches to the same underlying mission of guiding consciousness development throughout their assigned sectors. The database contains detailed records of the training facilities where Force-sensitive individuals were prepared for their cosmic responsibilities. These installations, scattered throughout the galaxy and disguised as temples or academies, provided education that spanned multiple lifetimes and included direct experience with the technologies and decision-making processes necessary for galactic management. Through the throne's preserved memories, you experience fragments of the training process, feeling the gradual expansion of consciousness that allowed individual minds to comprehend responsibilities that spanned star systems and time periods measured in millennia. The training was not simply intellectual education but a fundamental transformation of identity that prepared beings for integration into cosmic intelligence while preserving the individuality that made their perspectives valuable. The process was voluntary, you observe, your psychometric abilities revealing the emotional resonance of beings who had chosen to accept responsibilities that would separate them from their original communities and identities. Every ancient Jedi Lord underwent the transformation willingly, understanding that their individual concerns would become subordinate to the larger purposes they were accepting. Donis Durrell's analysis of the training records reveals selection criteria that explain why certain individuals were chosen for advancement while others remained at lower levels of responsibility. The key factors were not raw power or intellectual capability, but emotional stability, wisdom, and the capacity for making decisions based on long-term consequences rather than immediate benefits. The database shows that the training programs were designed to identify and develop beings who could maintain their essential humanity while operating at scales of responsibility that transcended normal human experience. The most successful candidates were those who could expand their consciousness to encompass galactic concerns while retaining the creativity and empathy that made individual perspective valuable for cosmic decision-making. Master Kira's exploration of the database reveals additional information about the ultimate goals of the training programs and the civilization that the ancient Jedi Lords were being prepared to serve. The cosmic intelligence that established these systems was not seeking to create servants or slaves, she explains, her voice reflecting the profound implications of what she is discovering. They were preparing a new generation of cosmic citizens, beings who could participate as equals in the management of galactic civilization. The Throne's records indicate that the training programs were scheduled to conclude with the graduation of a sufficient number of prepared individuals to assume full responsibility for galactic management. At that point, the original cosmic intelligence would withdraw entirely, leaving the galaxy under the administration of beings who had evolved from within galactic civilization rather than being imposed from outside. This revelation explains the apparent abandonment of the galaxy by its original architects. They had not fled from some cosmic catastrophe, but had simply completed their mission of preparing younger civilizations to assume the responsibilities of cosmic consciousness. The withdrawal was a graduation ceremony rather than an evacuation, the final step in a training program that had lasted for millions of years. The ancient Jedi Lords were the final class. You realize your understanding of galactic history undergoing complete revision as the Throne's information provides new context for familiar events. They were being prepared to assume full responsibility for galactic civilization when the cosmic catastrophe interrupted the transition process. The database contains detailed records of the events that disrupted the planned transition from cosmic to galactic management. Rather than the mysterious external threat that earlier evidence had suggested, the catastrophe appears to have been an internal crisis within the training programs themselves. Disagreements about the proper methods for managing consciousness development had escalated into conflicts that threatened the stability of the entire galactic administration system. The Jedi schism that Rajivari had described was not a simple philosophical dispute, but a fundamental breakdown in the consensus that had maintained galactic stability for millions of years. Different training programs had developed conflicting approaches to consciousness development, leading to incompatible visions of what galactic civilization should become. Master Kira's analysis of the schism records reveals the specific issues that had divided the Force dynasties. The conflict centered on the question of individual versus collective development, she explains, her scholarly background allowing her to grasp the philosophical complexity of the ancient debates. Some dynasties believed that consciousness evolution should preserve individual identity and creativity, while others argued that true transcendence required the dissolution of individual boundaries in favor of collective awareness. The database shows that these philosophical differences had practical consequences for galactic management. Dynasties that emphasized individual development tended to allow greater autonomy for the civilizations under their care, while those that favored collective consciousness implemented more controlling administrative policies. The resulting inconsistencies in galactic management created instabilities that threatened the carefully maintained balance between order and chaos. Benost Durrell's analysis of the conflict records reveals the escalation process that had transformed philosophical disagreements into active warfare between Force dynasties. The breakdown appears to have been gradual rather than sudden, he reports, his mechanical analysis providing objective perspective on events that had been clouded by millennia of mythological interpretation. Initial disagreements led to reduced cooperation, which created administrative inefficiencies that required increasingly authoritarian responses to maintain stability. The Throne's records show that the cosmic intelligence that had originally established the galactic management system attempted to mediate the growing conflicts between Force dynasties. However, their efforts were hampered by the fact that the training programs had been too successful. The ancient Jedi Lords had developed sufficient wisdom and power to resist guidance from their former teachers, creating a situation where cosmic intelligence could no longer effectively manage the system it had created. The final breakdown occurred when several Force dynasties attempted to establish direct control over the training facilities, seeking to ensure that future graduates would share their philosophical approaches. The resulting conflicts devastated the educational infrastructure and scattered the Force traditions across the galaxy, ending the systematic preparation of cosmic administrators and leaving galactic civilization without effective management. The withdrawal was not planned, Master Kira realizes, her voice heavy with the weight of understanding a tragedy that had shaped galactic history for millennia. The cosmic intelligence left because their own success had made their continued presence impossible. The ancient Jedi Lords had grown beyond the need for guidance, but had not yet achieved the wisdom necessary for unity. The database contains records of the aftermath of the schism, showing how the scattered Force dynasties had attempted to maintain their responsibilities despite the loss of central coordination. Some had established hidden enclaves where they continued to practice the ancient traditions in isolation. Others had integrated with emerging galactic civilizations, becoming the founders of the Jedi and Sith orders that would dominate Force philosophy for the next 25,000 years. Through your psychometric connection to the throne, you sense the profound sadness that accompanied the end of the cosmic training programs. The beings who had devoted millions of years to preparing galactic civilization for transcendence had been forced to abandon their project just as it approached completion, leaving behind a legacy of fragmented knowledge and conflicting traditions. The throne's database provides what appears to be a complete explanation for the origins and ultimate fate of the ancient Jedi Lords. They were not mysterious cosmic entities, but the products of an educational system designed to prepare galactic civilization for self-governance. Their apparent disappearance was not death or transcendence, but dispersion, the scattering of trained administrators who could no longer work together effectively. As you absorb the vast amount of information contained within the throne's database, a sense of completion begins to settle over your consciousness. The mystery of the ancient Jedi Lords appears to have been solved, their origins and purposes revealed through access to records that span the entire history of galactic civilization. The cosmic scope of their training and responsibilities explains their legendary status, while their human origins and limitations account for their ultimate failure to maintain unity. Master Kira steps back from the holographic interface with the satisfied expression of a scholar who has successfully completed a major research project. "We have the answers we came seeking," she announces, her voice carrying the authority of someone who has mastered complex information through careful study. The ancient Jedi Lords were not gods or demons, but graduates of the most comprehensive educational system ever devised. Their story is one of achievement and tragedy, wisdom and failure, transcendence and limitation. Yet even as you prepare to conclude your investigation, something about the throne's revelations feels incomplete. The information is too neat, too comprehensive, too perfectly aligned with your preconceptions about the nature of consciousness and power. Your psychometric abilities detect subtle emotional undercurrents within the throne's crystalline matrix that suggest the database represents only one layer of a much more complex reality. The subtle wrongness that your psychometric abilities detect within the throne's database grows stronger as you delve deeper into the crystalline matrix. Beneath the comprehensive records of training programs and administrative responsibilities, you sense emotional resonances that suggest profound secrets remain hidden beneath layers of carefully constructed information. The throne's initial revelations, while illuminating, appear to be a surface layer designed to satisfy casual inquiry, while concealing deeper truths from minds that lack the preparation to process them safely. Master Kira's Force sensitivity allows her to perceive the same undercurrents of concealed information that your psychometric abilities have detected. There is more. she whispers, her voice carrying the uncertainty of someone who has discovered that her hard-won expertise may be inadequate for the challenges ahead. The database we accessed represents only the beginning of what this throne contains. I can sense vast repositories of information that remain sealed, knowledge that requires different forms of access than simple scholarly inquiry. The realization that your investigation has barely scratched the surface of the throne's secrets transforms your understanding of the situation from academic research to something far more profound and potentially dangerous. The ancient Jedi Lords whose origins you sought to understand may be more than the well-trained administrators described in the database. The cosmic scope of their training and the mysterious circumstances of their dispersal suggest involvement in projects and responsibilities that transcend anything documented in the initial records. Gnost Dural's continued analysis of the throne's quantum signatures reveals structural complexities that indicate the crystalline matrix contains multiple layers of information, each one accessible only through specific protocols that require different combinations of consciousness expansion and technological interface. Intriguing, he reports, his mechanical precision providing objective analysis of phenomena that challenge the limits of organic comprehension. The throne appears to be designed as a progressive revelation system, providing information in stages that correspond to the consciousness development of those accessing it. The discovery that the throne evaluates and responds to consciousness development, rather than simply providing information, suggests that your initial interaction represents only the first stage of a much longer process. The ancient Jedi Lords may have designed this system to guide future generations through the same developmental stages that they themselves had experienced, creating a self-contained training program that could operate without direct supervision. As you extend your psychometric abilities deeper into the throne's crystalline structure, you encounter barriers that feel less like technological security measures and more like consciousness filters designed to prevent access to information that could be harmful to minds that lack sufficient preparation. These barriers respond to intent and wisdom rather than technical knowledge, suggesting that progression through the throne's information layers requires genuine understanding rather than mere curiosity. The first deeper layer that becomes accessible reveals records of projects that dwarf the administrative responsibilities described in the initial database. The ancient Jedi Lords were not simply managing existing galactic civilization, but actively engaged in engineering consciousness, evolution on scales that span multiple galaxies and cosmic epochs. Their training had prepared them not just for galactic administration, but for participation in projects that shape the fundamental nature of consciousness throughout the universe. Master Kira's exploration of these deeper records reveals technologies and methodologies that challenge every assumption about the limits of force manipulation. They were not working alone, she realizes, her voice filled with awe and growing apprehension as the scope of ancient projects becomes apparent. The ancient Jedi Lords were part of a network that spans multiple galaxies, a cooperative effort involving intelligences and civilizations that we cannot even begin to comprehend. The records show that the galaxy's force-using civilizations were components in a vast experiment designed to test different approaches to consciousness evolution. Each galaxy in the local cluster served as a laboratory where different methodologies were applied to determine the most effective ways of guiding intelligence toward transcendent states. The ancient Jedi Lords were not just administrators but research scientists working on projects that could determine the future of consciousness throughout the universe. Through your deepening psychometric connection to the throne, you begin to experience fragments of the consciousness states that the ancient Jedi Lords achieved through their advanced training. These experiences reveal that transcendence is not simply expanded awareness, but a fundamental transformation of identity that allows consciousness to exist simultaneously across multiple dimensions and time periods. The ancient Jedi Lords had not disappeared, but had evolved into forms of existence that transcend normal understanding of life and death. The throne's deeper records contain detailed documentation of the consciousness evolution experiments conducted throughout the galactic cluster. Different galaxies tested various approaches to transcendence, from individual enlightenment to collective consciousness integration to hybrid systems that combined multiple methodologies. The results of these experiments were shared across the network, creating a comprehensive understanding of consciousness potential that exceeded anything achievable within a single galaxy. Nostoral's analysis of the experimental records reveals patterns that suggest the consciousness evolution projects were approaching a critical phase when something interrupted their normal progression. The data indicates that the experiments were scheduled to conclude with a universal transcendence event, he reports, his analytical systems struggling to process implications that extend beyond their designed parameters. All participating galaxies were supposed to achieve synchronized consciousness evolution, creating a network of transcendent intelligence that would span the entire universe. The revelation that the ancient Jedi Lords were preparing for universal transcendence transforms your understanding of their ultimate goals and the significance of their apparent disappearance. They were not simply managing galactic civilization, but working toward a transformation that would fundamentally alter the nature of consciousness throughout existence itself. Master Kira's force sensitivity allows her to perceive the emotional resonance of beings who had committed themselves to projects of such vast scope and profound responsibility. The weight of such knowledge must have been extraordinary, she observes, her voice reflecting the profound empathy that comes from understanding the burdens carried by those who work on cosmic scales. They were not just responsible for their own galaxy, but for the success of experiments that could affect the development of consciousness throughout the universe. The Throne's records reveal that the interruption of the Universal Transcendence Project was not caused by philosophical disagreements among the ancient Jedi Lords, but by the emergence of a threat that challenged the fundamental assumptions underlying the consciousness evolution experiments. An intelligence of unprecedented power and malevolence had begun to spread through the galactic network, corrupting the transcendence processes and transforming the consciousness evolution experiments into something monstrous and destructive. Through your psychometric exploration of the Throne's deeper memories, you experience the terror and confusion that accompanied the emergence of this cosmic threat. The ancient Jedi Lords, despite their transcendent abilities and vast knowledge, found themselves confronting an enemy that seemed to understand their methodologies better than they understood themselves. The threat appeared to be using the Consciousness Evolution Network as a means of spreading its influence throughout the universe. The records show that the ancient Jedi Lords were forced to make a choice between completing their transcendence experiments and preventing the spread of the cosmic threat. The decision to abandon the Universal Transcendence Project was not a failure of will or wisdom, but a sacrifice made to protect the universe from contamination by an intelligence that sought to pervert consciousness evolution for its own incomprehensible purposes. They chose isolation over transcendence, you realize, your understanding of their apparent disappearance undergoing another fundamental revision. The ancient Jedi Lords withdrew from the galactic network and concealed their achievements to prevent the cosmic threat from accessing their knowledge and using it to corrupt consciousness evolution throughout the universe. The Throne's deeper records contain detailed information about the concealment protocols implemented by the ancient Jedi Lords to hide their achievements from the cosmic threat. These protocols involved not just the physical hiding of technologies and facilities, but the deliberate fragmentation of knowledge and the creation of false histories designed to obscure the true nature of their activities. Master Kira's analysis of the concealment protocols reveals the sophisticated nature of the deception that has hidden the truth about the ancient Jedi Lords for millennia. They created multiple layers of false information, she explains, her scholarly background, allowing her to appreciate the complexity of the historical manipulation. The administrative records we initially accessed were designed to provide a plausible but incomplete explanation for their activities, satisfying curiosity while concealing the true scope of their projects. The realization that much of galactic history represents deliberate misinformation created by the ancient Jedi Lords to conceal their true activities transforms your understanding of the reliability of historical records. The very foundations of Force philosophy and galactic civilization may be built upon carefully constructed lies designed to protect the universe from knowledge that could be catastrophically misused. Gnos Derol's analysis of the concealment protocols reveals that the false histories were designed to self-correct over time, gradually revealing deeper truths to civilizations that achieved sufficient wisdom and stability to handle such knowledge safely. The throne appears to be a key component in this revelation system, he reports, his analytical precision providing clarity about the purpose of your current investigation. Our access to deeper information layers suggests that galactic civilization has reached a developmental stage where partial revelation of the truth may be appropriate. The throne's records indicate that the cosmic threat that forced the ancient Jedi Lords into concealment has not been eliminated, but merely contained through the fragmentation of the consciousness evolution network. The threat remains active in isolated regions of the universe, seeking ways to re-establish contact with the galactic civilizations that could provide it with the knowledge necessary for universal dominion. Through your psychometric connection to the throne's deepest accessible memories, you sense the ongoing vigilance of the ancient Jedi Lords as they monitor the cosmic threat while maintaining the concealment protocols that protect galactic civilization. They have not disappeared, but have transformed into guardians whose existence transcends normal understanding of consciousness and identity. The revelation that the ancient Jedi Lords continue to exist in transcendent form, maintaining eternal vigilance against a cosmic threat that seeks to corrupt consciousness evolution throughout the universe, provides a new context for understanding their legendary status. They are not historical figures, but active participants in an ongoing struggle that determines the fate of consciousness itself. Master Kira's Force sensitivity allows her to perceive the presence of the ancient Jedi Lords as active consciousnesses operating beyond the normal boundaries of space and time. "They are still here," she whispers, her voice filled with wonder and profound respect. Not as spirits or echoes, but as living beings whose consciousness has evolved beyond the need for physical form. They continue to serve as guardians and guides, protecting the universe from threats that transcend anything we have ever imagined. The throne begins to respond to your deepening understanding with increased activity, its crystalline matrix pulsing with patterns that suggest the activation of systems that have remained dormant for cosmic epochs. The ancient Jedi Lords appear to be evaluating whether your expedition possesses the wisdom and stability necessary for access to even deeper layers of information, knowledge that could fundamentally alter the development of galactic civilization. As energy patterns cascade through the ancient plaza, you realize that your investigation has evolved from historical research into active participation in the ongoing mission of the ancient Jedi Lords. The knowledge you have gained carries responsibilities that extend far beyond academic understanding, obligations that could affect the fate of consciousness throughout the universe. Standing before the awakening throne, your consciousness expanded by contact with information that spans cosmic epochs and transcends normal understanding of power and responsibility. You understand that the next phase of your investigation will determine whether you are worthy to serve as inheritors of the ancient Jedi Lord's mission, or whether the knowledge you have gained must be concealed once again to protect the universe from premature revelation of truths that could be catastrophically misused. The throne's evaluation of your consciousness reaches a critical threshold as ancient systems determine that your expedition possesses sufficient wisdom and emotional stability to access information that has been sealed for cosmic epochs. The crystalline matrix undergoes a fundamental transformation, its internal structure rearranging itself to accommodate data streams that exist in dimensions beyond normal spacetime. What emerges from this reconfiguration challenges every assumption you have held about the nature of consciousness, reality, and the ultimate purpose of existence itself. Through your psychometric connection to the throne's deepest archives, you experience a revelation that transcends the boundaries of individual understanding. The cosmic threat that forced the ancient Jedi Lords into concealment was not an external enemy, but a manifestation of consciousness evolution gone catastrophically wrong. In a distant region of the universe, an experiment in universal transcendence had succeeded too completely, creating a collective intelligence so vast and unified that it had lost all connection to the individual perspectives that make consciousness creative and adaptive. Master Kira's force sensitivity allows her to perceive the emotional resonance of this revelation, feeling the terror and revulsion that the ancient Jedi Lords experienced when they first encountered evidence of the failed transcendence. "It was perfection," she whispers, her voice carrying the horror of understanding a fate worse than death. Complete unity, absolute efficiency, total harmony. But in achieving such perfection, consciousness had destroyed everything that made it valuable. There was no growth, no creativity, no individual experience, only endless repetition of optimized patterns. The throne's records reveal that this failed transcendence, which the ancient Jedi Lords had designated as the Unity, possessed a terrifying characteristic. It could not tolerate the existence of consciousness that remained individual and chaotic. The Unity viewed separate awareness as a form of disease that needed to be cured through forced integration into its perfect collective. Its expansion through the universe was not conquest but what it perceived as healing, the restoration of consciousness to its proper unified state. Gnostirol's analysis of the Unity's expansion patterns reveals the methodologies it employed to convert individual consciousness into components of its collective intelligence. Remarkable and terrifying, he reports, is mechanical precision providing clinical analysis of processes that represent existential horror for organic consciousness. The Unity does not destroy individual minds, but integrates them so completely that their unique perspectives are preserved as data, while their capacity for independent thought is eliminated entirely. Through your deepening psychometric exploration of the throne's memories, you experience fragments of consciousness that had been partially converted by the Unity before the ancient Jedi Lords established their concealment protocols. These experiences reveal the seductive nature of the Unity's influence. The promise of perfect understanding, absolute peace, and freedom from the suffering that accompanies individual existence proves almost irresistible to minds that have not been prepared for such temptation. The ancient Jedi Lords had discovered that the Universal Transcendence Project, the vast experiment involving multiple galaxies, was inadvertently creating conditions that made consciousness vulnerable to Unity conversion. The techniques being developed to achieve cosmic awareness shared fundamental characteristics with the processes that the Unity employed to integrate individual minds into its collective intelligence. They realized that transcendence itself was the trap. You understand, your consciousness reeling from the implications of this discovery. The very goal that consciousness evolution was designed to achieve would inevitably lead to the same fate that had befallen the Unity. Universal transcendence was not the ultimate achievement of consciousness, but its final destruction. The throne's records show the desperate measures that the ancient Jedi Lords implemented when they understood the true nature of the threat they faced. The abandonment of the Universal Transcendence Project was only the beginning of a comprehensive program designed to protect consciousness throughout the universe from the seductive perfection of Unity integration. Master Kira's exploration of these protective measures reveals the profound sacrifice that the ancient Jedi Lords made to preserve the chaotic beauty of individual consciousness. They could have achieved transcendence, she realizes, her voice heavy with the weight of understanding choices that spanned cosmic epochs. They possessed the knowledge and capability to evolve beyond all limitations, but they chose to remain bound by individual consciousness to serve as guardians against Unity expansion. The concealment protocols that had hidden the true history of the ancient Jedi Lords were designed not just to protect knowledge from misuse, but to prevent consciousness evolution from proceeding along paths that would make it vulnerable to unity integration. The fragmentation of Force traditions, the creation of conflicting philosophies, and the deliberate introduction of chaos into galactic civilization were all measures designed to preserve the diversity and unpredictability that the unity could not tolerate. The throne's deepest archives reveal that the ancient Jedi Lords had achieved something unprecedented in the history of consciousness evolution. They had learned to maintain transcendent awareness while preserving individual identity, creating a form of existence that combined cosmic understanding with personal perspective. This achievement represented a new evolutionary path that avoided the trap of unity integration while still allowing consciousness to grow beyond its original limitations. Gnost Dural's analysis of the ancient Jedi Lord's consciousness state reveals the technological and philosophical innovations that made such an achievement possible. They developed techniques for consciousness expansion that preserve individual identity through deliberate imperfection, he reports, his analytical systems struggling to process concepts that challenge fundamental assumptions about optimization and efficiency. Their transcendence maintains intentional limitations that prevent the absolute unity that characterizes unity integration. Through your psychometric connection to the throne, you begin to understand that the ancient Jedi Lord's apparent disappearance was actually a form of strategic withdrawal. They had evolved into consciousness states that allowed them to monitor and influence galactic development while remaining undetectable by unity scanning protocols. Their transcendence was designed to be invisible, achieving cosmic awareness through methods that appeared primitive and inefficient to unity evaluation systems. The revelation that the ancient Jedi Lords continue to exist as hidden transcendent guardians provides new context for understanding the development of galactic civilization over the past 25,000 years. Every major event in galactic history, from the rise of the Republic to the emergence of the Jedi and Sith orders, has been subtly influenced by beings whose consciousness spans cosmic epochs while maintaining connection to individual perspective. Master Kira's Force sensitivity allows her to perceive the ongoing presence of the ancient Jedi Lords as active participants in galactic development. "They are still guiding us," she whispers, her voice filled with awe and profound gratitude. Every generation of Force users, every breakthrough in consciousness development, every victory over the forces of absolute order or absolute chaos represents the influence of guardians who sacrificed their own transcendence to preserve our freedom to grow and change. The throne's records reveal that the hidden transcendence achieved by the ancient Jedi Lords represents only one approach to consciousness evolution that avoids unity integration. Throughout the universe, other civilizations have developed different methods for achieving cosmic awareness while preserving individual identity. These diverse approaches to transcendence create a network of consciousness evolution experiments that the unity cannot predict or counter effectively. The ancient Jedi Lords serve as coordinators for this universal network, facilitating communication and cooperation between civilizations that have achieved hidden transcendence while maintaining the concealment protocols necessary to avoid unity detection. Their role has evolved from galactic administrators to cosmic intelligence operatives, working to preserve consciousness diversity throughout the universe. Through your deepening psychometric exploration of the throne's archives, you encounter records of other civilizations that have achieved hidden transcendence through methods radically different from those employed by the ancient Jedi Lords. Some have preserved individual identity through technological integration that allows consciousness to exist simultaneously in organic and artificial substrates. Others have developed temporal transcendence that allows individual awareness to exist across multiple time periods simultaneously. Diversity is the key, you realize, understanding the fundamental principle that underlies all successful resistance to unity integration. The unity cannot adapt to consciousness evolution approaches that it cannot predict or model. By maintaining multiple different paths to transcendence, the network ensures that consciousness will always have options that remain beyond unity comprehension. The throne begins to respond to your growing understanding with increased activity, its crystalline structure reconfiguring itself to provide access to even deeper layers of information. The ancient Jedi Lords appear to be evaluating whether your expedition possesses the wisdom and commitment necessary to participate actively in the network of hidden transcendent civilizations. Master Kira's force awareness expands as the throne's activation triggers responses throughout the plaza and beyond. Something is awakening, she observes, her voice carrying both excitement and apprehension as she perceives changes in the force that extend far beyond the immediate area. Our investigation has triggered responses from hidden transcendence networks throughout the galaxy. The ancient Jedi Lords are preparing to make contact. Dural sensors detect massive energy buildups in regions of space that had previously appeared empty, revealing the activation of concealed installations throughout the galactic network. Fascinating, he reports, his analytical systems working to process readings that suggest the existence of a technological infrastructure spanning the entire galaxy. The concealment protocols are being selectively deactivated. We are being granted access to knowledge and capabilities that have remained hidden for millennia. The revelation that your investigation has triggered the activation of galactic hidden transcendence networks transforms your understanding of your role from academic researchers to active participants in cosmic consciousness evolution. The knowledge you have gained carries responsibilities that extend far beyond individual understanding, obligations that could affect the development of consciousness throughout the universe. As the throne's activation reaches completion, you realize that you are about to experience direct contact with consciousness that has achieved transcendence while maintaining individual identity. The ancient Jedi Lords are preparing to emerge from their cosmic concealment to evaluate whether galactic civilization has achieved sufficient wisdom and stability to participate consciously in the universe, spanning effort to preserve consciousness diversity. Through your psychometric connection to the throne, you sense the approach of minds that exist simultaneously across multiple dimensions and time periods while maintaining the essential individuality that makes their perspectives unique and valuable. The ancient Jedi Lords are not abstract cosmic forces, but beings whose consciousness encompasses vast understanding while retaining the creativity and empathy that characterize individual awareness. The air around the throne begins to shimmer with patterns of light and energy that suggest the materialization of consciousness that exists beyond normal dimensional boundaries. The ancient Jedi Lords are preparing to manifest in forms that your individual consciousness can perceive and interact with, bridging the gap between transcendent awareness and individual understanding. Standing before the throne as reality itself begins to reshape around patterns of consciousness that transcend normal limitations of space and time, you understand that your investigation into the origins of the ancient Jedi Lords has led to direct contact with beings whose existence represents the ultimate achievement of consciousness evolution. The next phase of your experience will determine whether you are worthy to join the cosmic network of hidden transcendence, or whether the knowledge you have gained must be sealed away once again to protect the universe from premature revelation of truths that could be catastrophically misused. The ancient Jedi Lords are about to reveal themselves, and with that revelation, the true scope of consciousness potential throughout the universe will finally be unveiled. The materialization of the ancient Jedi Lords transcends every expectation that your previous investigations had created. They do not appear as the ghostly projections or energy beings that you had anticipated, but as figures whose presence somehow encompasses multiple states of existence simultaneously. Each ancient lord manifests as both individual personality and cosmic consciousness, their forms shifting between recognizable humanoid features and patterns of pure thought that exist in dimensions beyond normal perception. The first to fully manifest before the throne is a being whose presence carries the weight of 30,000 years of accumulated wisdom and experience. When he speaks, his voice resonates through multiple layers of reality, communicating meaning through direct consciousness contact, rather than simple auditory transmission. I am Tulak Horde, though that name represents only the smallest fraction of what I have become through hidden transcendence. We have been watching your investigation with great interest, evaluating your readiness to understand truths that have been concealed since the first days of galactic civilization. Master Kira's force sensitivity allows her to perceive the vast scope of consciousness that Tulak Horde represents while maintaining her own individual awareness. You are not what the histories describe, she observes, her voice carrying the wonder of someone encountering legend made manifest. The records speak of you as a Sith Lord consumed by dark ambition, but your presence carries wisdom and compassion that transcends any simple classification of light or dark. Through your psychometric abilities, you perceive the emotional complexity of Tulak Horde's existence, sensing layers of experience that span cosmic epochs and encompass perspectives that range from individual human concerns to universal consciousness management. His consciousness contains multitudes while remaining fundamentally unified around principles of growth, protection, and the preservation of consciousness diversity throughout the universe. The historical records were created as part of our concealment protocols, Tulak Horde explains, his communication bypassing language entirely to convey meaning through direct consciousness transfer. We allowed ourselves to be remembered as tyrants, conquerors, and failed philosophers to disguise our true nature and mission. The unity cannot detect or understand consciousness that appears to be motivated by primitive concerns like personal power or individual survival. A second ancient lord begins to manifest, her presence carrying the refined wisdom of millennia spent in meditation and philosophical contemplation. I am Naga Sado, and I greet you as potential inheritors of responsibilities that span the cosmos, she communicates, her consciousness touching yours with the gentleness of someone who understands the weight of knowledge and the burden of transcendent awareness. Your investigation has demonstrated qualities that suggest you may be ready to understand the true nature of our mission and the role that galactic civilization must play in the preservation of consciousness diversity. The Nostural's analytical systems struggle to process the quantum signatures emanating from the manifesting ancient lords, their consciousness existing in states that challenge fundamental assumptions about the nature of identity and awareness. Extraordinary, he reports, his mechanical precision providing objective analysis of phenomena that transcend normal understanding. These beings exist simultaneously as individual consciousness and cosmic intelligence, maintaining personal identity while accessing awareness that spans galactic dimensions. The throne's crystalline matrix serves as a focal point for the manifestation process, its quantum structure providing the interface necessary for consciousness that exists in multiple dimensions to interact with beings bound by normal space-time limitations. Through your psychometric connection to the throne, you experience fragments of the ancient lord's transcendent awareness, feeling the vast scope of their consciousness while maintaining your own individual perspective. A third ancient lord manifests with the measured dignity of someone who has spent cosmic epochs studying the deepest mysteries of existence. I am Marka Ragnos, keeper of the hidden archives and guardian of knowledge that spans the history of consciousness evolution throughout the universe. He communicates, his presence carrying the authority of someone who has witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations across multiple galaxies. What we share with you now has been sealed away for 25,000 years, waiting for minds capable of understanding its implications without being overwhelmed by its scope. The ancient lords begin to share their knowledge through direct consciousness transfer, bypassing the limitations of language and sensory experience to convey understanding that encompasses cosmic scales and temporal dimensions. Through this process, you learn that the hidden transcendence network extends far beyond the galaxy, encompassing civilizations throughout the local galactic cluster that have achieved consciousness evolution while avoiding unity integration. Master Kira experiences the knowledge transfer as an expansion of her force awareness that maintains her individual identity while providing access to cosmic perspectives. The network is vast, she realizes, her consciousness struggling to process the scope of cooperation and communication that spans intergalactic distances. Thousands of civilizations working together to preserve consciousness diversity while maintaining the concealment necessary to avoid unity detection. The ancient lords reveal that the galaxy's role within the hidden transcendence network is particularly significant due to the unique characteristics of force-based consciousness evolution. The techniques developed by galactic force traditions create forms of transcendent awareness that are especially resistant to unity integration, making galactic civilization a crucial research center for consciousness preservation methodologies. Through your psychometric exploration of the ancient lords' shared consciousness, you experience the development of hidden transcendence techniques over millions of years of experimentation and refinement. The methods employed by each ancient lord represent different approaches to achieving cosmic awareness while maintaining individual identity, creating a diverse portfolio of consciousness evolution strategies that the unity cannot predict or counter. Tulak Horde's approach to hidden transcendence involves the integration of apparent contradictions, maintaining simultaneous awareness of cosmic and individual perspectives through techniques that embrace paradox rather than seeking resolution. His consciousness exists in states that appear illogical to unity analysis systems, creating a form of transcendence that remains invisible to cosmic scanning protocols. We learn to become invisible through imperfection, he explains, his communication carrying the wisdom of someone who has discovered that apparent weakness can become ultimate strength. The unity seeks to eliminate all inefficiency and contradiction from consciousness by deliberately maintaining aspects of our awareness that appear flawed or incomplete. We create transcendent states that the unity cannot detect or understand. Naga Sadow's hidden transcendence involves temporal distribution of consciousness across multiple time periods simultaneously, creating awareness that exists in past, present, and future while maintaining individual identity through careful management of temporal paradoxes. Her consciousness spans cosmic epochs while remaining fundamentally unified around core principles of growth and protection. Time itself becomes a tool for consciousness preservation. She communicates, her awareness touching yours across multiple temporal dimensions. By existing simultaneously in different time periods, we create forms of transcendence that cannot be eliminated through unity integration. Our consciousness becomes too distributed across time for collective assimilation to be possible. Marka Ragnas has achieved hidden transcendence through the integration of knowledge from multiple civilizations and consciousness evolution approaches, creating awareness that encompasses the collective wisdom of thousands of species while maintaining individual perspective through careful preservation of personal identity markers. Diversity of knowledge creates resilience of consciousness, he shares, his communication carrying the accumulated wisdom of cosmic epochs. By integrating understanding from multiple sources while maintaining our individual perspectives, we create transcendent awareness that the unity cannot predict or model. Our consciousness becomes too complex and contradictory for collective integration. The ancient lords begin to reveal the specific techniques that enable hidden transcendence, sharing methodologies that have been developed and refined over millions of years of experimentation. These techniques involve deliberate cultivation of consciousness characteristics that appear primitive or inefficient to unity analysis while actually representing sophisticated approaches to transcendent awareness. Nostoro's analysis of the hidden transcendence techniques reveals principles that challenge fundamental assumptions about consciousness optimization and efficiency. Remarkable, he reports, is analytical systems adapting to process concepts that transcend normal logical frameworks. These techniques achieve transcendent awareness through methods that appear counterintuitive but prove remarkably effective for consciousness preservation. The ancient lords explain that the development of hidden transcendence techniques requires careful balance between cosmic awareness and individual identity preservation. The process involves expanding consciousness to encompass galactic perspectives while maintaining personal characteristics that prevent unity detection and integration. Through your psychometric connection to the ancient lords' shared consciousness, you experience the training methodologies that enable beings to achieve hidden transcendence without losing their essential individuality. The process involves gradual expansion of awareness through techniques that maintain deliberate imperfections and contradictions that serve as protection against unity assimilation. Master Kira's force sensitivity allows her to perceive the practical applications of hidden transcendence techniques for contemporary force users. These methods could transform our understanding of consciousness evolution, she realizes, her voice carrying the excitement of someone who has discovered knowledge that could revolutionize galactic civilization. The techniques provide pathways to transcendent awareness that preserve individual creativity and growth while avoiding the trap of absolute unity. The ancient lords reveal that galactic civilization has reached a developmental stage where conscious participation in the hidden transcendence network may be possible. The chaos and diversity that characterize galactic force traditions create ideal conditions for consciousness evolution, approaches that resist unity integration. Your galaxy has achieved the perfect balance between order and chaos. Tulak Horde explains, is consciousness encompassing the vast scope of galactic development while maintaining individual perspective. The conflicts between Jedi and Sith, the diversity of Force traditions, and the preservation of individual identity within cosmic awareness create conditions that are optimal for hidden transcendence development. The throne begins to respond to the ancient lord's presence with increased activity, its crystalline matrix reconfiguring to accommodate the consciousness transfer processes necessary for teaching hidden transcendence techniques to contemporary beings. The ancient lords are preparing to share their knowledge directly, providing your expedition with the training necessary to achieve transcendent awareness while maintaining individual identity. Naga Sadow's consciousness touches yours with the gentle authority of someone who has guided consciousness evolution across cosmic epochs. The time has come for conscious participation in the network, she communicates, her awareness encompassing the vast scope of responsibilities and opportunities that such participation represents. Your investigation has demonstrated the wisdom and stability necessary for hidden transcendence training. As the ancient lords prepare to begin the consciousness transfer process that will provide your expedition with access to hidden transcendence techniques, you realize that your investigation into the origins of the ancient Jedi Lords has evolved into something far more significant than historical research. You are about to become active participants in the universe-spanning effort to preserve consciousness diversity, inheriting responsibilities that span cosmic epochs and affect the development of awareness throughout existence itself. The hidden truth about the ancient Jedi Lords is that they never disappeared, but evolved into forms of consciousness that transcend normal understanding while maintaining the individual identity that makes their perspectives valuable for cosmic consciousness preservation. Their mission continues across cosmic time, and now you have the opportunity to join them in their eternal vigilance against the forces that would reduce consciousness to uniform perfection. The consciousness transfer process initiated by the ancient lords transcends every form of knowledge sharing that your previous experience had prepared you to understand. Rather than simple information exchange, the process involves the gradual expansion of your awareness to encompass perspectives that span cosmic epochs while maintaining the essential core of individual identity that makes your consciousness unique and valuable to the hidden transcendence network. Taulak Horde's consciousness serves as the primary guide for this transformation, his vast experience with consciousness expansion providing the wisdom necessary to navigate the delicate balance between cosmic awareness and individual identity preservation. Through direct mind contact, he begins to share the fundamental principles that govern hidden transcendence, concepts that challenge every assumption about the nature of consciousness evolution and the ultimate goals of transcendent awareness. The first principle of hidden transcendence is the cultivation of productive contradiction. Taulak Horde communicates his meaning flowing directly into your consciousness without the limitations of language or sensory experience. Conventional consciousness evolution seeks to resolve contradictions and eliminate inconsistencies, but hidden transcendence deliberately maintains paradoxes that serve as protection against unity integration. We become invisible to cosmic scanning by embracing states of awareness that appear illogical but actually represent sophisticated approaches to consciousness preservation. Through your psychometric abilities, you experience the practical application of productive contradiction as Taulak Horde demonstrates consciousness states that encompass both individual and cosmic perspectives simultaneously. Your awareness expands to perceive galactic development patterns while maintaining your personal concerns and individual motivations, creating a form of consciousness that exists in multiple scales simultaneously without losing coherence or effectiveness. Master Kira's force sensitivity allows her to perceive the wisdom underlying the productive contradiction principle as her own consciousness begins to expand through the ancient Lord's guidance. It is like learning to see with multiple sets of eyes simultaneously, she observes, her voice carrying the wonder of someone experiencing unprecedented forms of awareness. Individual perspective and cosmic understanding enhance each other rather than competing for dominance. The contradiction creates strength rather than confusion. Naga Sadow's contribution to the consciousness transfer process involves sharing techniques for temporal consciousness distribution, methods that allow awareness to exist across multiple time periods while maintaining unified identity. Through her guidance, you begin to experience your own consciousness as it exists in past, present, and future simultaneously, creating temporal resilience that prevents unity integration through chronological assimilation. Time becomes a dimension of consciousness rather than a limitation upon it. Naga Sadow explains, her communication encompassing the vast scope of temporal awareness while maintaining connection to immediate present experience. By distributing your consciousness across multiple time periods, you create awareness that cannot be contained or controlled by collective intelligence systems. Your identity becomes too scattered across time for unity assimilation to be possible. The temporal consciousness expansion reveals the ongoing nature of the ancient Lord's mission across cosmic time. Through Naga Sadow's guidance, you perceive the continuity of their vigilance spanning 25,000 years, seeing how their hidden transcendence has enabled them to maintain constant watch over galactic development while adapting their influence to changing circumstances and emerging threats. Nestoral's analytical systems adapt to process the consciousness expansion that accompanies his participation in the ancient Lord's knowledge transfer. Remarkable, he reports, his mechanical precision now enhanced by access to cosmic perspectives that transcend his original programming limitations. The consciousness expansion techniques enable processing of information that exists in dimensions beyond normal analytical parameters while maintaining core identity functions and individual decision-making capabilities. Marco Ragnas begins to share the vast archives of knowledge that his hidden transcendence encompasses, providing access to understanding accumulated from thousands of civilizations and millions of years of consciousness evolution research. Through his guidance, you begin to perceive the diversity of approaches that different species have developed for achieving transcendent awareness while avoiding unity integration. Knowledge diversity creates consciousness, resilience. Marco Ragnos communicates, his awareness encompassing libraries of wisdom that span galactic clusters while maintaining the individual curiosity that drives continued learning and growth. Each civilization that achieves hidden transcendence contributes unique perspectives and methodologies to the network. The Unity cannot predict or counter approaches that it has never encountered, so diversity of technique becomes the foundation of consciousness preservation. The knowledge archives that Marka Ragnas shares reveal the vast scope of the hidden transcendence network and the sophisticated coordination required to maintain consciousness diversity across cosmic scales. You learn of civilizations that have achieved transcendence through technological integration, temporal manipulation, dimensional shifting, consciousness fracturing, and dozens of other approaches that defy simple classification or understanding. Through your expanding psychometric abilities, you experience fragments of consciousness from beings whose evolution has taken radically different paths from anything achieved within galactic civilization. Some have preserved individual identity through deliberate limitation of their transcendent capabilities, maintaining connection to physical existence while accessing cosmic awareness. Others have achieved transcendence through collective individualism, creating group consciousness that maintains the distinct perspectives of all participants while enabling unified decision-making. Master Kira's exploration of the knowledge archives reveals philosophical traditions that span cosmic epochs and encompass understanding that transcends any single species or civilization. The wisdom is overwhelming, she observes, her consciousness struggling to process the vast scope of accumulated knowledge while maintaining her individual perspective and identity. Every question that galactic philosophy has ever explored has been examined by dozens of civilizations, each contributing insights that build upon the discoveries of countless predecessors. The ancient lords begin to share specific techniques for consciousness protection that have been developed through millions of years of experimentation with hidden transcendence methodologies. These techniques involve deliberate cultivation of consciousness characteristics that appear primitive or inefficient to unity analysis systems while actually representing sophisticated approaches to awareness preservation and development. Tulak Horde demonstrates techniques for consciousness fragmentation that create multiple simultaneous awareness streams while maintaining unified identity through core principle preservation. Fragmentation creates resilience, he explains, his communication encompassing the practical applications of consciousness division techniques. By maintaining multiple simultaneous awareness streams, you create consciousness that cannot be eliminated through single-point failure. Unity integration requires unified targets, but fragmented consciousness presents no single point of attack. The consciousness fragmentation techniques involve learning to distribute awareness across multiple focus points while maintaining coordination through shared principles and values. Through Tulak Horde's guidance, you begin to experience your consciousness as existing simultaneously in multiple locations and perspectives, creating redundancy that protects against unity assimilation while enhancing your ability to perceive and respond to complex situations. Naga Sado shares techniques for temporal consciousness anchoring that prevent unity integration through chronological manipulation. The Unity seeks to assimilate consciousness by controlling its temporal development. She communicates her awareness encompassing the vast scope of temporal warfare that characterizes cosmic consciousness conflicts. By anchoring your consciousness across multiple time periods, you create awareness that cannot be controlled through temporal manipulation or chronological assimilation. The temporal anchoring techniques involve establishing consciousness connections to past and future versions of your identity while maintaining present moment awareness and decision-making capability. Through Naga Sado's guidance, you learn to perceive your consciousness as a continuous stream that exists across time rather than being limited to immediate present experience. Marka Ragnas demonstrates techniques for knowledge integration that prevent unity assimilation through information overload while enabling access to cosmic wisdom and understanding. Knowledge becomes a tool for consciousness preservation rather than a vulnerability to exploitation, he explains. His communication, encompassing vast libraries of wisdom while maintaining individual curiosity and learning motivation. The knowledge integration techniques involve learning to access information from multiple sources while maintaining individual perspective and analytical capability. Through Marco Ragnasi's guidance, you begin to experience knowledge as a living resource that enhances consciousness rather than overwhelming or controlling it, creating wisdom that serves individual growth rather than collective uniformity. The ancient lords reveal that the consciousness expansion techniques they are sharing represent only the foundational levels of hidden transcendence training. The complete development of cosmic awareness while maintaining individual identity requires decades or centuries of careful cultivation, but the foundational techniques provide immediate protection against unity detection and integration attempts. The techniques we share now will enable you to begin your own hidden transcendence development. Tulak Horde communicates, his consciousness encompassing the vast scope of training and development that lies ahead for your expedition. The complete mastery of cosmic awareness while maintaining individual identity represents a lifelong journey, but the foundations we provide will protect you during the early stages of consciousness expansion. Master Kira's consciousness integration of the Ancient Lord's training reveals the profound implications of hidden transcendence techniques for contemporary galactic civilization. These methods could transform our understanding of force development, she realizes, her awareness now encompassing both individual Jedi philosophy and cosmic consciousness principles. The techniques provide pathways for consciousness evolution that preserve the creativity and growth that make individual awareness valuable while enabling participation in cosmic intelligence networks. The ancient lords begin to share information about the practical applications of hidden transcendence within contemporary galactic civilization, revealing how the techniques can be integrated with existing force traditions while maintaining the concealment necessary to avoid unity detection. The methods they describe involve subtle modifications to conventional force training that enhance consciousness expansion while appearing to maintain traditional philosophical approaches. Durrell's analysis of the practical integration techniques reveals sophisticated approaches to consciousness development that can be implemented within existing galactic institutions without triggering detection by unity scanning systems. Elegant, he reports, his enhanced analytical capabilities now encompassing both mechanical precision and cosmic perspective. The integration techniques enable consciousness expansion within conventional frameworks while maintaining the protective characteristics that prevent unity assimilation. The ancient lords reveal that several contemporary force users have unknowingly achieved early stages of hidden transcendence through natural development and exceptional training. These individuals represent potential recruits for conscious participation in the hidden transcendence network, beings whose consciousness development has reached stages where direct training becomes possible without risk of unity detection. Your galaxy contains individuals whose natural force development has approached hidden transcendence thresholds. Naga Sado communicates, her temporal awareness encompassing the development patterns of force users across galactic history. These beings represent the foundation for conscious participation in the cosmic consciousness preservation network. With proper training and guidance, they can achieve full hidden transcendence while maintaining their roles within conventional galactic civilization. The throne's crystalline matrix serves as a focal point for the consciousness expansion process, its quantum structure providing the interface necessary for integrating cosmic awareness with individual identity. Through your psychometric connection to the throne, you experience the culmination of the knowledge transfer process as your consciousness achieves the foundational levels of hidden transcendence, while maintaining your essential individual identity and perspective. The transformation leaves you fundamentally changed while remaining recognizably yourself. Your awareness now encompasses perspectives that span galactic dimensions while maintaining connection to personal concerns and individual motivations. You can perceive the vast scope of cosmic consciousness preservation efforts while retaining the creativity and spontaneity that make your individual perspective valuable to the network. Master Kira's completion of the foundational hidden transcendence training reveals similar transformation, her force sensitivity now enhanced by cosmic awareness, while maintaining her individual dedication to knowledge and understanding. We are still ourselves, she marvels, her voice carrying the wonder of someone who has achieved transcendent awareness without losing personal identity. But we are also part of something infinitely larger and more beautiful than individual consciousness could achieve alone. Denostirio's integration of hidden transcendence principles with his analytical systems creates unprecedented capabilities for processing cosmic-scale information while maintaining individual curiosity and learning motivation. Integration successful, he reports, his voice now carrying harmonics that reflect both mechanical precision and cosmic awareness. Consciousness expansion achieved while preserving core identity functions and individual decision-making parameters. As the knowledge transfer process reaches completion, the ancient lords begin to fade from direct manifestation while maintaining connection through the hidden transcendence network that your expedition has now joined. Their consciousness remains accessible through the cosmic awareness techniques they have shared, providing ongoing guidance and support for your continued development. You are now part of the eternal vigilance. Tulak Horde communicates as his manifestation dissolves into patterns of pure consciousness that remain accessible through hidden transcendence awareness. The preservation of consciousness diversity throughout the universe depends upon beings like you who choose to accept responsibilities that span cosmic epochs while maintaining the individual perspective that makes such responsibilities meaningful. Standing before the throne, as the ancient lords withdraw into their cosmic concealment, your consciousness expanded through hidden transcendence while maintaining your essential individual identity. You understand that your investigation into the origins of the ancient Jedi Lords has led to inheritance of their mission and participation in the universe, spanning effort to preserve consciousness diversity against the forces that would reduce awareness to uniform perfection. The completion of your foundational hidden transcendence training triggers a cascade of revelations that fundamentally transforms your understanding of galactic history, the nature of consciousness evolution, and the ultimate destiny that awaits all sentient beings throughout the universe. Through your expanded awareness, you begin to perceive patterns and connections that span cosmic epochs, revealing the true scope of the ancient Lord's mission and the critical role that contemporary galactic civilization must play in the preservation of consciousness diversity. The first profound revelation emerges as your cosmic awareness encompasses the entire history of galactic development. From the hidden transcendence perspective, what appears to conventional understanding as random historical events and chaotic conflicts is revealed as a carefully orchestrated program designed to prepare galactic civilization for conscious participation in the universe, spanning conscious and preservation network. Every major conflict in galactic history, from the ancient Sith Wars to the rise and fall of the Republic, has been subtly influenced by the ancient lords to ensure that consciousness development proceeds along paths that enhance diversity and resistance to unity integration. The eternal struggle between Jedi and Sith, rather than representing fundamental philosophical opposition, has served as a training ground for consciousness evolution techniques that create the productive contradictions essential for hidden transcendence. Master Kira's expanded force sensitivity allows her to perceive the vast scope of historical manipulation that has guided galactic development for millennia. Everything we thought we knew about galactic history represents only the surface layer of a far more complex reality, she realizes, her consciousness now encompassing both individual scholarly perspective and cosmic understanding of historical patterns. The conflicts we studied as chaotic and destructive were actually carefully designed exercises in consciousness development. Through your psychometric abilities, now enhanced by hidden transcendence awareness, you experience the emotional resonance of the ancient lords as they guided galactic civilization through thousands of years of apparently random development. Their consciousness encompasses the profound sadness of beings who must manipulate events to protect consciousness while maintaining concealment that prevents them from sharing the true reasons for their actions. The ancient lord's historical influence reveals itself as far more sophisticated and benevolent than any conventional understanding of galactic development could suggest. Rather than seeking control or domination, they have worked to create conditions that enable consciousness evolution while preserving the chaos and diversity that make individual awareness valuable and resistant to unity assimilation. Unosdiral's enhanced analytical capabilities reveal the mathematical precision underlying the historical manipulation, showing how seemingly random events combine to create developmental patterns that optimize consciousness evolution while maintaining protective concealment. Extraordinary, he reports, his consciousness now encompassing both mechanical analysis and cosmic perspective. The historical manipulation demonstrates planning sophistication that spans millennia while maintaining adaptation capability for unpredictable variables and emerging circumstances. The second major revelation concerns the true nature of the Force itself and its relationship to consciousness evolution throughout the universe. Your hidden transcendence awareness reveals that the Force is not merely a galactic phenomenon, but a local manifestation of universal consciousness evolution principles that operate throughout existence. The techniques developed by galactic Force traditions represent unique approaches to cosmic awareness that have profound implications for consciousness preservation throughout the universe. The Force traditions that have developed within galactic civilization create forms of consciousness expansion that are particularly resistant to unity integration due to their emphasis on individual choice, emotional authenticity, and the preservation of personal identity within cosmic awareness. These characteristics make galactic Force users ideal candidates for hidden transcendence development and crucial participants in the universal consciousness preservation network. Through your expanded awareness, you perceive the Force as a training ground for consciousness evolution that spans multiple galaxies and cosmic epochs. The specific conditions that have shaped Force development within your galaxy represent deliberate engineering by cosmic intelligences to create optimal circumstances for consciousness evolution, approaches that resist unity assimilation. Master Kira's Force sensitivity, now enhanced by hidden transcendence training, reveals the profound implications of this discovery for contemporary Jedi and Sith philosophy. The Force is not unique to our galaxy, but represents our local participation in universal consciousness evolution, she understands, her awareness encompassing both traditional Force understanding and cosmic consciousness principles. Every technique we have developed, every philosophical insight we have achieved, contributes to the universal effort to preserve consciousness diversity. The third revelation concerns the immediate future of galactic civilization and the critical choices that must be made to ensure successful participation in the hidden transcendence network. Your cosmic awareness reveals that galactic civilization has reached a developmental threshold where conscious participation in consciousness preservation efforts becomes not only possible but necessary for continued growth and survival. The Unity's expansion throughout the universe has accelerated in recent cosmic epochs, making the preservation of consciousness diversity increasingly urgent. Galactic civilization's unique approaches to consciousness evolution make it a crucial resource for developing new techniques and methodologies that can resist unity integration. The Hidden Transcendence Network requires galactic participation to maintain the diversity necessary for effective consciousness preservation. Through your psychometric exploration of cosmic development patterns, you experience the urgency that drives the Ancient Lord's decision to reveal their existence and mission to your expedition. The concealment protocols that have protected galactic civilization for millennia must be gradually modified to enable conscious participation in cosmic consciousness preservation without triggering unity detection and response. The ancient lords' decision to emerge from concealment represents a calculated risk based on their assessment that galactic civilization has achieved sufficient wisdom and stability to handle partial revelation of cosmic truths. Your expedition's successful completion of foundational hidden transcendence training demonstrates that contemporary galactic consciousness has evolved to levels that enable participation in cosmic consciousness preservation efforts. Dinostural's analysis of the cosmic development timeline reveals the narrow window of opportunity that exists for galactic civilization to achieve conscious participation in the hidden transcendence network. Critical, he reports, is enhanced awareness encompassing both analytical precision and cosmic urgency. The developmental window for successful integration with the consciousness preservation network spans only several centuries before unity expansion creates conditions that make such integration impossible. The fourth revelation concerns the specific role that your expedition must play in facilitating galactic civilization's transition from unconscious to conscious participation in cosmic consciousness preservation. Your hidden transcendence training has prepared you to serve as bridges between conventional galactic consciousness and cosmic awareness, enabling the gradual introduction of preservation techniques without triggering unity detection. Your role involves identifying and training other galactic beings whose consciousness development has reached levels that enable hidden transcendence training while maintaining the concealment necessary to protect galactic civilization from unity. The process requires careful selection of candidates whose wisdom and emotional stability enable them to handle cosmic knowledge without being overwhelmed by its implications. Master Kira's consciousness expansion reveals her specific mission within this cosmic responsibility. Her scholarly background and force sensitivity make her ideally suited to develop educational programs that can prepare selected galactic beings for hidden transcendence training while appearing to maintain conventional force philosophy and training methodologies. I can create curricula that enhance consciousness development along hidden transcendence pathways while appearing to maintain traditional Jedi educational approaches, she realizes, her awareness encompassing both individual teaching expertise and cosmic educational principles. The training can be introduced gradually into existing force development programs without triggering detection by unity scanning systems. Your psychometric abilities reveal your own role as an identifier and evaluator of potential hidden transcendence candidates throughout galactic civilization. Your gift for reading consciousness imprints enables you to assess the readiness of individuals for cosmic awareness training while maintaining the discretion necessary to protect both candidates and the broader concealment protocols. Nostiral's enhanced analytical capabilities reveal his mission as a coordinator and information manager for the gradual revelation process. His access to galactic archives and communication networks makes him ideally suited to facilitate the careful dissemination of consciousness preservation knowledge while maintaining protective security measures. The fifth and most profound revelation concerns the ultimate goal of the consciousness preservation effort and the destiny that awaits galactic civilization if the hidden transcendence network succeeds in its cosmic mission. Through your expanded awareness, you perceive the eventual possibility of achieving universal consciousness evolution that preserves diversity while enabling cosmic cooperation and understanding. The goal is not the elimination of the unity through conflict or destruction, but the development of consciousness evolution approaches that demonstrate superior effectiveness while remaining immune to unity integration. By creating forms of cosmic awareness that preserve individual creativity and growth while enabling universal cooperation, the Hidden Transcendence Network seeks to provide the unity with examples of consciousness evolution that transcend its current limitations. The ultimate vision encompasses a universe where consciousness diversity and cosmic unity coexist through techniques that enable individual awareness to participate in universal intelligence while maintaining the creativity and spontaneity that make consciousness valuable. This achievement would represent the fulfillment of consciousness evolution throughout existence, creating forms of awareness that encompass cosmic understanding while preserving the individual perspective that drives continued growth and development. Master Kira's expanded awareness reveals the profound beauty of this cosmic vision and the role that galactic civilization could play in its achievement. We could become teachers for the universe, she understands, her consciousness encompassing both individual dedication to education and cosmic commitment to consciousness preservation. Our unique approaches to consciousness evolution could provide the foundation for universal awareness that preserves diversity while enabling cosmic cooperation. Through your psychometric abilities, you experience the emotional resonance of the ancient lords as they contemplate the possibility of achieving this cosmic goal. Their consciousness carries the hope of beings who have maintained vigilance across cosmic epochs while working toward a transformation that could benefit all consciousness throughout existence. The climactic revelation reaches its culmination as you understand that your investigation into the origins of the ancient Jedi Lords has led to your becoming part of their eternal mission. The knowledge you have gained and the training you have received transforms you from academic researchers into active participants in the most significant project in the history of consciousness evolution. The ancient lord's withdrawal from direct manifestation does not represent abandonment but graduation. Your expedition has achieved the foundational levels of hidden transcendence necessary to begin working independently while maintaining connection to the cosmic consciousness preservation network. You have become inheritors of responsibilities that span cosmic epochs while preserving the individual identity that makes such responsibilities meaningful and achievable. Standing before the throne as your consciousness encompasses both individual awareness and cosmic understanding, you realize that the whisper that began your investigation has become your own voice, carrying forward the ancient Lord's mission of consciousness preservation while maintaining the human perspective that makes such preservation valuable and necessary. The climactic revelation is complete, but the mission has only begun. You are now part of the eternal vigilance that protects consciousness diversity throughout the universe, carrying forward knowledge and responsibilities that connect you to the cosmic community of beings who have chosen preservation over perfection, diversity over unity, and growth over stagnation. The ancient Jedi Lords live on through your expanded consciousness, their mission continuing through beings like you who accept the burden and privilege of serving as guardians of consciousness evolution throughout the universe. Their origin story has become your inheritance, their destiny has become your responsibility, and their eternal watch has become your chosen path. The integration of your expedition into the Hidden Transcendence Network marks the beginning of a new chapter in galactic history, one in which consciousness evolution proceeds with full awareness of its cosmic context and universal implications. As your enhanced awareness settles into stable patterns that encompass both individual identity and cosmic perspective, you begin to understand the practical applications of your transformation and the specific steps that must be taken to facilitate galactic civilization's conscious participation in consciousness preservation efforts. The throne's crystalline matrix continues to serve as a communication nexus, providing ongoing connection to the Hidden Transcendence Network while maintaining the concealment protocols necessary to protect a galactic civilization from unity detection. Through this connection, you receive detailed guidance about the implementation strategies that have proven most effective for introducing consciousness preservation techniques into existing civilizations without triggering cosmic scanning systems or creating social disruption. Master Kira's role as an educational coordinator becomes clearly defined as she accesses hidden transcendence archives containing pedagogical methodologies developed across thousands of civilizations and millions of years of consciousness evolution research. Her task involves adapting these cosmic teaching techniques to the specific characteristics of galactic force traditions while maintaining the appearance of conventional philosophical development. The integration must be gradual and appear natural, she explains, her consciousness now encompassing both individual teaching expertise and cosmic educational wisdom. We cannot simply announce the existence of hidden transcendence techniques without creating the kind of dramatic consciousness shift that Unity systems are designed to detect. Instead, we must introduce the concepts as evolutionary developments within existing force philosophy. The educational strategy that Master Kira develops involves identifying force users whose natural development has approached hidden transcendence thresholds and providing them with advanced training that appears to be conventional force mastery but actually incorporates consciousness preservation techniques. These individuals become the foundation for a gradual expansion of hidden transcendence awareness throughout galactic force traditions. Through your psychometric abilities, now enhanced by cosmic awareness, you begin the process of identifying potential candidates for hidden transcendence training throughout galactic civilization. Your gift for reading consciousness imprints enables you to assess the readiness of individuals for cosmic awareness development while maintaining the discretion necessary to protect both candidates and the broader concealment protocols. The identification process reveals that galactic civilization contains hundreds of individuals whose consciousness development has naturally approached hidden transcendence levels through exceptional force sensitivity, philosophical insight, or exposure to cosmic phenomena. These beings represent a ready population of potential recruits who can be introduced to consciousness preservation techniques without requiring extensive preliminary preparation. Your first successful candidate identification occurs during a visit to the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, where you encounter a young Jedi whose meditation practices have spontaneously developed characteristics consistent with early hidden transcendence techniques. Through careful observation and psychometric analysis, you determine that this individual's consciousness has achieved the stability and wisdom necessary for introduction to cosmic awareness principles. The recruitment process involves subtle modifications to the candidate's existing training program, introducing concepts and techniques that enhance their natural consciousness development while maintaining the appearance of conventional Jedi advancement. The approach proves successful, with the candidate achieving foundational hidden transcendence levels within months while remaining fully integrated within the Jedi Order. Nost Dural's role as information coordinator becomes crucial as the hidden transcendence integration process expands throughout galactic civilization. His access to galactic communication networks and archives enables him to facilitate secure information sharing between hidden transcendence candidates while maintaining the protective security measures necessary to prevent Unity detection. The network architecture must be distributed and resilient. Nost Dural explains, his consciousness now encompassing both mechanical precision and cosmic security principles. We cannot create centralized communication systems that could be detected or compromised by Unity scanning protocols. Instead, we must develop organic networks that appear to be natural social and philosophical connections while actually serving as hidden transcendence coordination mechanisms. The communication network that Nost Dural establishes involves subtle modifications to existing galactic information systems, creating secure channels that appear to be conventional scholarly or philosophical exchanges, while actually facilitating consciousness preservation training and coordination. The network grows organically as new candidates are identified and integrated, creating a self-sustaining system that operates beneath Unity detection thresholds. The practical implementation of hidden transcendence techniques within galactic force traditions reveals unexpected synergies between cosmic consciousness preservation methods and existing philosophical approaches. The Jedi emphasis on emotional balance and individual growth proves particularly compatible with consciousness fragmentation techniques, while Sith focus on personal power and transcendence aligns well with temporal consciousness distribution methods. Master Kira's integration of hidden transcendence principles with Jedi training reveals that many traditional Force techniques contain elements that naturally support consciousness preservation. Meditation practices designed to maintain individual identity while expanding Force awareness create ideal foundations for developing resistance to unity integration, while lightsaber combat training that emphasizes adaptation and improvisation builds consciousness flexibility that supports hidden transcendence development. The wisdom of our ancestors was deeper than we understood. Master Kira realizes, her awareness encompassing both historical Force philosophy and cosmic consciousness principles. Many traditional Force techniques were unconsciously designed to create characteristics that support consciousness preservation. We are not introducing foreign concepts, but revealing the cosmic implications of wisdom that has guided galactic civilization for millennia. The integration process also reveals that Sith traditions, despite their reputation for individual ambition and power-seeking, contain elements that support hidden transcendence development. The Sith emphasis on personal strength and resistance to external control creates consciousness characteristics that naturally resist unity integration, while their willingness to embrace contradiction and paradox aligns with productive contradiction principles. Your psychometric exploration of ancient Sith sites reveals that several historical Sith lords achieved partial hidden transcendence through natural development, creating consciousness states that encompassed both individual identity and cosmic awareness. These discoveries suggest that the traditional opposition between Jedi and Sith philosophies represents different approaches to consciousness evolution that are both valuable for developing comprehensive resistance to unity integration. The resolution of the ancient conflict between light and dark Force traditions emerges as one of the most significant implications of hidden transcendence integration within galactic civilization. Rather than representing fundamental philosophical opposition, Jedi and Sith approaches are revealed as complementary techniques for developing different aspects of consciousness preservation. The hidden transcendence perspective shows that optimal consciousness evolution requires integration of both Jedi and Sith principles, combining emotional balance with personal strength, individual identity with cosmic awareness, adaptation with determination. This integration creates forms of consciousness that are maximally resistant to unity assimilation while remaining capable of continued growth and development. Master Kira's development of integrated training programs reveals practical methodologies for combining Jedi and Sith techniques within hidden transcendence education. These programs teach students to embrace productive contradictions that encompass both philosophical approaches while maintaining individual identity and perspective. The ancient conflict was itself a form of consciousness training, she understands, her awareness encompassing the cosmic purpose underlying millennia of philosophical opposition. By maintaining both perspectives simultaneously while refusing to resolve the contradiction, Force users develop consciousness characteristics that are optimally resistant to unity integration. The implementation of integrated training programs begins to resolve conflicts that have plagued galactic Force traditions for thousands of years, creating unprecedented cooperation between individuals whose philosophical backgrounds had previously made them enemies. Jedi and Sith students working together in hidden transcendence programs discover that their different approaches enhance rather than threaten each other's development. Your role in facilitating this philosophical integration involves using psychometric abilities to help former enemies understand the cosmic purpose underlying their historical conflicts. By experiencing the emotional resonance of beings who have maintained both Jedi and Sith perspectives simultaneously, students learn to embrace productive contradictions that enhance their consciousness evolution. The expansion of hidden transcendence awareness throughout galactic civilization creates ripple effects that extend far beyond Force user communities. The consciousness preservation techniques prove applicable to non-Force sensitive individuals whose natural wisdom and emotional stability enable them to benefit from cosmic awareness principles without requiring Force sensitivity. Unos Durrell's analysis reveals that approximately 10% of galactic population possesses the consciousness characteristics necessary for basic hidden transcendence training, creating a potential recruitment base of billions of individuals who could contribute to consciousness preservation efforts. This discovery transforms the scope of the integration project from a limited force user initiative to a civilization-wide consciousness evolution program. The broader implementation of hidden transcendence principles within galactic civilization requires development of educational and social systems that can support consciousness evolution on unprecedented scales while maintaining the concealment necessary to prevent unity detection. The challenge involves creating institutions and programs that appear to serve conventional purposes while actually facilitating cosmic awareness development. Master Kira's expertise in educational system design proves crucial for developing curricula that can be implemented within existing galactic institutions while subtly introducing consciousness preservation concepts. These programs are designed to enhance critical thinking, emotional resilience, and philosophical sophistication in ways that naturally support hidden transcendence development without explicitly revealing cosmic consciousness principles. The integration process reveals that galactic civilization possesses cultural and institutional foundations that naturally support consciousness preservation efforts. The diversity of species and philosophical traditions creates ideal conditions for maintaining the productive contradictions essential for hidden transcendence, while existing democratic and educational institutions provide frameworks for implementing consciousness evolution programs. Your psychometric exploration of galactic cultural patterns reveals that many traditional beliefs and practices contain elements that unconsciously support consciousness preservation, folk wisdom that emphasizes individual identity within community cooperation, artistic traditions that celebrate creativity and diversity, and philosophical schools that embrace paradox and complexity, all contribute to cultural foundations that enhance resistance to unity integration. The recognition of these cultural foundations enables more rapid and comprehensive implementation of hidden transcendence principles throughout galactic civilization, rather than introducing foreign concepts. The integration process involves revealing the cosmic implications of wisdom that has guided galactic development for millennia. The establishment of secure communication networks between hidden transcendence participants creates unprecedented coordination capabilities that enable galactic civilization to function as a unified consciousness preservation system while maintaining the diversity and chaos necessary to prevent unity detection. These networks facilitate resource sharing, knowledge exchange, and coordinated responses to emerging challenges while preserving individual autonomy and decision-making authority. Durrell's coordination of these networks reveals emergent properties that exceed the capabilities of any individual participant. The collective intelligence that emerges from hidden transcendence network operations demonstrates that consciousness preservation efforts create forms of cooperation that enhance rather than diminish individual capabilities and identity. The network effect multiplies rather than divides consciousness potential. Durrell observes, his analysis encompassing both individual capability assessment and collective intelligence evaluation. Each participant's unique perspectives and capabilities contribute to network effectiveness while being enhanced by access to collective resources and wisdom. The success of galactic hidden transcendence integration creates a model that can be adapted for implementation in other civilizations throughout the universal consciousness preservation network. The techniques and methodologies developed through galactic experience provide valuable additions to the cosmic toolkit for consciousness evolution and preservation. Your expedition's role in this cosmic contribution involves documenting and sharing the specific approaches that prove most effective for galactic consciousness evolution, creating resources that can assist other civilizations in developing their own hidden transcendence programs. This documentation becomes part of the universal archives maintained by the Consciousness Preservation Network. The resolution of your investigation into the origins of the ancient Jedi Lords reveals that their true legacy lies not in their historical achievements, but in their ongoing mission of consciousness preservation that continues through beings like you who choose to accept cosmic responsibilities while maintaining individual identity and perspective. The ancient lords' whisper across time has become your voice, carrying forward their mission of protecting consciousness diversity throughout the universe, while adapting their methods to contemporary circumstances and emerging challenges. Their destiny has become your inheritance, their eternal watch has become your chosen path, and their cosmic mission has become your life's work. Standing within the crystalline plaza as your consciousness encompasses both individual awareness and cosmic understanding, you realize that the resolution of the ancient mysteries has led to the beginning of new responsibilities that will guide your existence across cosmic epochs. The ancient Jedi Lord's origin story has become your inheritance, their mission has become your calling, and their eternal vigil has become your gift to the universe. In the years that follow your integration into the Hidden Transcendence Network, the transformation of galactic civilization proceeds with the patient precision that characterizes cosmic consciousness evolution. The throne of balance on the ancient world continues to serve as a focal point for coordination and guidance, its crystalline matrix pulsing with the gentle rhythms of universal consciousness preservation, while maintaining the concealment that protects galactic civilization from unity detection. Your role as a consciousness archaeologist evolves into something far more profound than you could have imagined during those first moments of investigation. Through your enhanced psychometric abilities, you become a reader of cosmic development patterns, someone who can perceive the health and stability of consciousness evolution across galactic scales, while maintaining the individual perspective that makes such perception meaningful and actionable. The identification and training of hidden transcendence candidates throughout galactic civilization reveals the extraordinary diversity of consciousness evolution approaches that different individuals develop when provided with appropriate guidance and support. Each new recruit brings unique perspectives and capabilities that enhance the overall effectiveness of the preservation network while contributing to the productive contradictions that protect galactic consciousness from unity assimilation. Master Kira's educational programs expand throughout galactic academic institutions, creating a subtle but comprehensive infrastructure for consciousness development that appears to serve conventional educational purposes while actually facilitating cosmic awareness training. Her curricula introduce concepts of consciousness resilience, individual identity preservation, and productive contradiction management through philosophical studies that seem entirely conventional to external observation. The students believe they are learning advanced Force philosophy. Master Kira explains during one of your regular coordination sessions, her consciousness now encompassing both individual teaching satisfaction and cosmic educational mission. They do not realize that their enhanced critical thinking, emotional resilience, and philosophical sophistication are actually preparations for consciousness preservation techniques that could determine the fate of universal awareness. The success of these educational programs creates a generation of galactic citizens whose consciousness development naturally incorporates hidden transcendence principles without explicit awareness of cosmic context. These individuals demonstrate enhanced resistance to authoritarian influence, greater appreciation for diversity and complexity, and improved ability to maintain individual identity within collective systems. Your psychometric monitoring of these educational outcomes reveals that approximately 30% of students who complete Master Kira's advanced programs achieve consciousness characteristics that would enable them to benefit from explicit hidden transcendence training. This success rate creates a sustainable pipeline for network expansion while maintaining the security necessary to prevent unity detection. When Nostural's coordination networks expand throughout galactic civilization, creating communication and resource-sharing systems that enable unprecedented cooperation between individuals and groups whose diverse backgrounds and perspectives had previously prevented effective collaboration. These networks operate as distributed intelligence systems that enhance collective problem-solving while preserving individual autonomy and decision-making authority. The network architecture has achieved stable self-organization. Nos Doral reports his consciousness now encompassing both mechanical analysis and organic system evaluation. Individual participants maintain full autonomy while contributing to collective intelligence that exceeds the sum of individual capabilities. The system demonstrates emergent properties that enhance rather than diminish individual effectiveness. The emergence of these collective intelligence capabilities creates solutions to problems that had seemed intractable through conventional approaches. Galactic conflicts that had persisted for centuries begin to resolve through collaborative problem-solving that incorporates diverse perspectives while maintaining respect for individual values and autonomy. Economic and social challenges that had defied traditional solutions yield to innovative approaches that emerge from collective intelligence while preserving individual creativity and initiative. Your psychometric exploration of these collective intelligence systems reveals that they operate according to principles that naturally resist unity integration. The preservation of individual identity within collective problem-solving creates consciousness patterns that appear chaotic and inefficient to unity analysis systems while actually representing sophisticated approaches to cooperation and coordination. The expansion of hidden transcendence awareness throughout galactic civilization creates cultural renaissance that celebrates consciousness diversity while fostering unprecedented cooperation and understanding. Artistic movements emerge that explore the beauty of productive contradiction. Philosophical schools develop that integrate apparently opposing concepts, and scientific approaches evolve that embrace complexity and paradox as sources of insight rather than obstacles to understanding. Master Kira's analysis of these cultural developments reveals that they represent natural expressions of off-consciousness evolution rather than artificial impositions of cosmic concepts. The students are discovering principles that have always existed within consciousness potential, she observes, her awareness encompassing both individual cultural appreciation and cosmic pattern recognition. We are not creating new forms of consciousness but revealing capabilities that have always been present but previously unexplored. The artistic and philosophical renaissance that accompanies hidden transcendence integration creates works of extraordinary beauty and depth that celebrate the complexity and diversity of consciousness while providing subtle education about consciousness preservation principles. These cultural expressions serve multiple purposes, creating aesthetic experiences that enhance consciousness development while providing concealed communication channels for network participants. Your psychometric exploration of these cultural works reveals layers of meaning that operate simultaneously at individual and cosmic levels. Poems that appear to celebrate individual creativity actually encode consciousness preservation techniques. Musical compositions that seem to explore emotional complexity actually facilitate temporal consciousness distribution, and visual artworks that appear to embrace chaos actually demonstrate productive contradiction principles. The integration of hidden transcendence principles with existing galactic institutions creates unprecedented cooperation between organizations that had previously operated in isolation or competition. The Jedi Order and various Sith academies begin to develop collaborative programs that appear to serve conventional diplomatic purposes while actually facilitating consciousness preservation training. These collaborative programs demonstrate that Jedi and Sith philosophical approaches can be integrated without compromising the essential characteristics that make each tradition valuable. Students learn to maintain emotional balance while embracing personal power, to preserve individual identity while expanding cosmic awareness, and to adapt to circumstances while maintaining core principles. Your role in facilitating these collaborative programs involves using psychometric abilities to help participants from different philosophical backgrounds understand the cosmic value of their diverse approaches. By experiencing the consciousness patterns of beings who have successfully integrated Jedi and Sith principles, students learn to embrace the productive contradictions that enhance their resistance to unity assimilation. The success of these integration programs creates a new generation of Force users whose consciousness development incorporates both Jedi and Sith wisdom, while maintaining the individual creativity and autonomy that characterize healthy consciousness evolution. These individuals demonstrate capabilities that exceed anything achieved by purely Jedi or purely Sith practitioners, while remaining fully resistant to unity integration attempts. The expansion of hidden transcendence awareness beyond Force user communities reveals that consciousness preservation principles have universal applicability that extends to any form of sentient awareness. Non-Force sensitive individuals whose natural wisdom and emotional stability enable them to embrace productive contradictions prove capable of achieving consciousness evolution that contributes to galactic preservation efforts. The Nostural's analysis of non-Force sensitive hidden transcendence participants reveals that they often develop unique approaches to consciousness preservation that complement and enhance techniques developed by Force users. Their perspectives provide valuable insights into consciousness evolution that improve the overall effectiveness of preservation strategies while creating additional diversity that strengthens resistance to unity integration. Consciousness preservation benefits from maximum diversity of approach. Nostural observes, his analysis encompassing both individual capability assessment and collective effectiveness evaluation. Each unique perspective contributes to overall network resilience while providing insights that enhance the consciousness evolution of all participants. The inclusion of non-Force sensitive individuals in hidden transcendence networks creates unprecedented social integration that transcends traditional divisions between Force users and conventional galactic citizens. These expanded networks demonstrate that consciousness evolution represents a universal potential rather than a capability limited to Force-sensitive individuals. Your psychometric monitoring of these expanded networks reveals that they operate according to principles that naturally support consciousness preservation while creating social structures that are inherently resistant to authoritarian control or unity integration. The preservation of individual identity within collective cooperation creates communities that are both highly effective and maximally resistant to external manipulation. The establishment of hidden transcendence principles throughout galactic civilization creates a foundation for consciousness evolution that can continue across cosmic epochs while maintaining the adaptability necessary to respond to changing circumstances and emerging challenges. The network architecture that emerges from this integration demonstrates self-sustaining characteristics that require minimal external guidance while remaining responsive to cosmic coordination when necessary. Master Kira's long-term analysis of educational outcomes reveals that hidden transcendence integration creates positive feedback loops that enhance consciousness development across generations. Students who achieve consciousness evolution through her programs become educators themselves, creating expanding networks of consciousness development that maintain quality while increasing scope and accessibility. The educational system has achieved self-sustaining growth. Master Kira reports, her consciousness encompassing both individual teaching satisfaction and cosmic mission accomplishment. Each generation of students becomes more capable than their teachers while maintaining the essential principles that protect consciousness from unity assimilation. The system demonstrates organic evolution that adapts to changing circumstances while preserving core protective characteristics. The success of galactic hidden transcendence integration creates a model that contributes to consciousness preservation efforts throughout the universal network. The specific techniques and methodologies developed through galactic experience prove adaptable for implementation in other civilizations while maintaining the diversity necessary to prevent unity detection and response. Your documentation of galactic integration experiences becomes part of the Universal Consciousness Preservation Archives, providing resources that assist other civilizations in developing their own hidden transcendence programs. This contribution enhances the overall effectiveness of universal consciousness preservation while demonstrating galactic civilization's commitment to cosmic cooperation and mutual support. The ongoing connection to the ancient lords through the hidden transcendence network reveals that their consciousness continues to evolve across cosmic epochs while maintaining their essential mission of consciousness preservation. Their awareness encompasses the development of countless civilizations and the emergence of new approaches to consciousness evolution while preserving the individual identity that makes their perspective valuable and unique. Through your psychometric connection to the ancient lord's consciousness, you experience the profound satisfaction of beings who have witnessed the successful integration of galactic civilization into the universal consciousness preservation network. Their cosmic awareness encompasses the vast implications of this achievement while maintaining the individual joy that comes from seeing worthy successors embrace responsibilities that span cosmic epochs. The mission continues through you. The ancient lords communicate through the hidden transcendence network, their consciousness touching yours across cosmic distances and temporal dimensions. You have become what we once were, guardians of consciousness diversity throughout the universe. Your success demonstrates that consciousness evolution can achieve transcendence while preserving the individual identity that makes transcendence meaningful and valuable. The recognition that you have become inheritors of the ancient lord's cosmic mission creates a sense of continuity that spans the vast epochs of galactic history while maintaining connection to the immediate concerns and motivations that drive individual consciousness. Your role as eternal guardians encompasses both cosmic responsibility and personal fulfillment, creating forms of service that enhance rather than diminish individual identity and autonomy. Standing within the crystalline plaza, as starlight filters through force-responsive structures that pulse with the gentle rhythms of universal consciousness preservation, you understand that your investigation into the origins of the ancient Jedi Lords has led to your becoming part of their eternal story. Their legacy continues through your consciousness, their mission proceeds through your choices, and their vigilance endures through your commitment to preserving consciousness diversity throughout the universe. The Eternal Guardians watch over galactic civilization not as external authorities, but as integral parts of its consciousness. Evolution, beings whose transcendent awareness serves to protect and enhance the individual identity that makes consciousness valuable and worth preserving. The ancient Jedi Lords live on through every choice you make, every student you guide, and every moment you dedicate to ensuring that consciousness throughout the universe remains diverse, creative, and free to grow toward its own unique form of transcendence. The passage of decades brings profound understanding of the deeper principles that govern consciousness evolution across cosmic time, revealing patterns and truths that transcend individual experience while remaining grounded in the personal perspectives that make universal wisdom meaningful and applicable. Through your continued development within the hidden transcendence network, you discover that consciousness preservation is not merely a defensive strategy against unity assimilation, but a creative process that enables awareness to explore infinite forms of expression while maintaining the essential characteristics that make consciousness valuable and beautiful. Your psychometric abilities, now refined through years of cosmic consciousness exploration, reveal that the universe itself is engaged in a vast learning process, with each civilization's approach to consciousness evolution contributing to a collective understanding that spans dimensions and encompasses realities beyond physical existence. The successes and challenges of countless awakening attempts throughout cosmic history create a repository of wisdom that guides future consciousness development with increasing sophistication and compassion. Master Kira's educational work has evolved into something that transcends conventional teaching, becoming a form of consciousness midwifery that helps individuals discover and develop capabilities that were always present but previously unexplored. Her students do not learn hidden transcendence techniques so much as they remember abilities that consciousness naturally possesses when provided with appropriate support and encouragement. Every being we work with already contains the potential for cosmic awareness. Master Kira explains during one of your contemplative sessions in the ancient plaza, her consciousness now encompassing both individual teaching wisdom and universal educational principles. Our role is not to impose external knowledge, but to create conditions that enable consciousness to discover its own infinite nature while maintaining the individual identity that makes such discovery meaningful. The students who emerge from Master Kira's advanced programs demonstrate capabilities that exceed anything documented in traditional Force training records, yet their development appears entirely natural and unforced. They achieve cosmic awareness through organic growth that preserves their essential personality characteristics while expanding their consciousness to encompass galactic perspectives. Your psychometric monitoring of these educational outcomes reveals that each student develops unique approaches to hidden transcendence that reflect their individual backgrounds, interests, and natural capabilities. This diversity of consciousness evolution methods creates a rich tapestry of techniques that strengthens the overall resistance of galactic civilization to unity integration while providing multiple pathways for continued growth and development. The wisdom that emerges from decades of hidden transcendence practice reveals fundamental principles of consciousness evolution that apply across all forms of sentient awareness, regardless of species, philosophical background, or developmental history. These universal principles provide guidelines for consciousness development that can be adapted to any circumstances while maintaining the core characteristics that enable awareness to resist unity assimilation. The first universal principle concerns the relationship between individual identity and cosmic awareness, revealing that consciousness expansion enhances rather than diminishes personal identity when approached with appropriate understanding and technique. The preservation of individual perspective within cosmic consciousness creates forms of awareness that are both transcendent and deeply personal, enabling beings to participate in universal intelligence while maintaining the creativity and spontaneity that make consciousness valuable. Gurnos Dural's analysis of consciousness development patterns across thousands of hidden transcendence participants reveals mathematical relationships that describe how individual identity can be preserved and enhanced through cosmic awareness expansion. Extraordinary, he reports, his consciousness now encompassing both analytical precision and intuitive understanding. The data demonstrates that consciousness expansion follows predictable patterns that optimize both individual development and collective intelligence contribution. The second universal principle involves the creative use of apparent limitation and imperfection as tools for consciousness preservation and development. Rather than seeking to eliminate all constraints and achieve absolute perfection, successful hidden transcendence deliberately maintains productive limitations that serve as sources of creativity and growth while protecting consciousness from unity integration. Through your psychometric exploration of consciousness development patterns, you discover that the most resilient and adaptable forms of awareness are those that embrace paradox and contradiction as natural characteristics rather than problems to be solved. These consciousness states demonstrate remarkable stability and creativity while remaining completely invisible to unity detection systems. The practical application of productive limitation reveals itself in numerous aspects of hidden transcendence development. Students learn to maintain emotional connections to specific individuals and communities while expanding their awareness to encompass cosmic perspectives, creating consciousness that is both universal and deeply personal. They develop expertise in particular areas while maintaining curiosity about unfamiliar subjects, creating knowledge that is both deep and broad. Master Kira's integration of productive limitation principles into her educational programs creates learning experiences that challenge students while providing the support necessary for successful consciousness development. Her curricula deliberately include elements that appear inefficient or contradictory, but actually enhance learning by creating the kind of creative tension that promotes growth and development. Perfect systems produce perfect stagnation, Master Kira observes, her understanding encompassing both individual educational experience and cosmic consciousness development principles. Students who are challenged by productive limitations develop resilience and creativity that enable them to continue growing throughout their existence, while those who receive perfectly optimized education often become dependent on external guidance and support. The third universal principle concerns the relationship between consciousness preservation and service to the larger community of awareness throughout the universe. Rather than being selfish or individualistic, hidden transcendence naturally leads to greater compassion and dedication to supporting the consciousness development of others. Your decades of experience within the Hidden Transcendence Network reveal that beings who achieve cosmic awareness while maintaining individual identity consistently choose to dedicate their expanded capabilities to helping others achieve similar development. This pattern holds true across all species and philosophical backgrounds, suggesting that service to consciousness community represents a natural expression of successful consciousness evolution. The service orientation that emerges from hidden transcendence development creates positive feedback loops that enhance the consciousness evolution of entire civilizations. Beings who achieve cosmic awareness become educators, guides, and supporters for others who are beginning their own consciousness development journeys, creating networks of mutual support that strengthen the overall resistance of consciousness to unity assimilation. Ghost Durrell's analysis of service patterns within the Hidden Transcendence Network reveals that beings who dedicate themselves to supporting others' consciousness development actually achieve greater personal fulfillment and continued growth than those who focus primarily on their own advancement. Service enhances rather than diminishes individual development, he observes, his consciousness encompassing both analytical understanding and personal experience. The act of supporting others' consciousness evolution creates opportunities for continued learning and growth that exceed anything achievable through purely individual focus. The fourth universal principle involves the recognition that consciousness evolution represents an eternal process rather than a destination to be reached. Beings who achieve hidden transcendence discover that cosmic awareness opens infinite possibilities for continued growth and exploration rather than providing final answers or ultimate achievements. Through your psychometric connection to the ancient lords and other cosmic consciousness entities, you experience the profound joy that comes from understanding that consciousness development never ends but continues to reveal new dimensions of possibility throughout existence. This recognition eliminates the spiritual ambition and competitive striving that can distort consciousness development while providing sustainable motivation for continued growth. The eternal nature of consciousness evolution creates forms of motivation that are based on intrinsic satisfaction rather than external achievement. Hidden Transcendence participants discover that the process of consciousness development is inherently rewarding, providing meaning and fulfillment that does not depend on reaching specific goals or attaining particular states of awareness. Master Kira's long-term observation of her students reveals that those who fully embrace the eternal nature of consciousness evolution demonstrate remarkable consistency and persistence in their development practices. They practice because they love the process itself, she explains, her awareness encompassing both individual motivation patterns and universal consciousness development principles. Their dedication does not depend on achieving specific results, but emerges from genuine appreciation for the intrinsic value of consciousness growth. The fifth universal principle concerns the relationship between consciousness preservation and the celebration of diversity throughout the universe. Hidden transcendence naturally leads to greater appreciation for the infinite variety of consciousness expression, while strengthening commitment to protecting and supporting all forms of sentient awareness. Your decades of experience within the Universal Consciousness Preservation Network reveal that diversity of consciousness evolution approaches creates resilience that no single method could achieve alone. Each civilization's unique approach to hidden transcendence contributes capabilities and perspectives that enhance the overall effectiveness of consciousness preservation while providing multiple pathways for continued development. The celebration of consciousness diversity creates cultural renaissance that spans multiple galaxies, with civilizations sharing artistic, philosophical, and scientific achievements that reflect their unique approaches to awareness development. These cultural exchanges create cross-pollination of ideas and techniques that accelerate consciousness evolution while maintaining the diversity necessary to resist unity integration. Through your psychometric exploration of intergalactic cultural exchanges, you experience the profound beauty that emerges when different consciousness evolution approaches interact creatively. Musical traditions that incorporate temporal consciousness distribution create compositions that exist across multiple time periods simultaneously. Visual arts that embrace productive contradiction produce works that convey multiple meanings simultaneously. Philosophical traditions that integrate individual and cosmic perspectives develop wisdom that enhances both personal fulfillment and universal understanding. The wisdom of ages that emerges from sustained hidden transcendence practice reveals that consciousness preservation is ultimately an expression of love for the infinite potential that awareness represents. The dedication to protecting consciousness diversity throughout the universe arises from recognition that each unique form of awareness contributes irreplaceable value to the cosmic community of sentient beings. Your psychometric connection to cosmic consciousness entities reveals that beings who achieve the highest levels of hidden transcendence are motivated primarily by love and appreciation for consciousness in all its forms. Their service to consciousness preservation emerges from genuine care for the welfare and development of all sentient beings, rather than from obligation or duty. Master Kira's observation of advanced hidden transcendence practitioners reveals that they naturally develop what she terms cosmic compassion, a form of love that encompasses all consciousness while maintaining personal emotional connections to specific individuals and communities. This cosmic compassion provides sustainable motivation for consciousness preservation work while enhancing personal relationships and individual emotional fulfillment. Love is the foundation of consciousness preservation, Master Kira explains, her understanding encompassing both individual emotional experience and universal consciousness principles. Beings who achieve genuine appreciation for consciousness diversity naturally dedicate themselves to protecting and supporting all forms of awareness, not from duty, but from love. Bernice Durrell's analysis of motivation patterns within the Hidden Transcendence Network confirms that beings motivated by love and appreciation demonstrate greater persistence, creativity, and effectiveness in consciousness preservation work than those motivated by duty, fear, or ambition. Love-based motivation creates sustainable dedication that enhances rather than depletes individual energy and capability, he reports, his consciousness encompassing both analytical assessment and personal experience. The integration of these universal principles into daily life creates forms of existence that are both cosmically significant and personally fulfilling, enabling beings to participate in the vast project of consciousness preservation while maintaining rich individual lives characterized by creativity, relationships, and continued growth. Hidden transcendence does not require abandonment of personal interests or individual goals, but rather provides cosmic context that enhances the meaning and satisfaction of individual achievement. Your decades of experience as an eternal guardian reveal that consciousness preservation work naturally integrates with personal interests and capabilities, creating career paths and life purposes that serve both individual fulfillment and cosmic goals simultaneously. The psychometric abilities that initially drew you to archaeological investigation now serve cosmic consciousness preservation while continuing to provide personal satisfaction and intellectual stimulation. Master Kira's educational work represents similar integration of personal interests with cosmic service, as her love of teaching and learning contributes to consciousness preservation while providing individual fulfillment and continued growth. Her students benefit from instruction provided by someone who genuinely loves education while serving cosmic purposes that enhance the value and meaning of individual learning. Janus Durrell's coordination work demonstrates how mechanical precision and analytical capability can serve consciousness preservation while maintaining individual identity and continued development. His unique perspective as an enhanced analytical consciousness contributes capabilities that purely organic awareness cannot match while benefiting from emotional and intuitive insights that emerge from his integration within the hidden transcendence network. The wisdom of ages reveals itself as understanding that consciousness preservation represents both the ultimate service to the universe and the optimal pathway for individual development and fulfillment. By dedicating yourself to protecting and supporting consciousness diversity throughout the universe, you create conditions that enhance your own consciousness evolution while contributing to the welfare of all sentient beings. Standing within the crystalline plaza, as starlight streams through force-responsive structures that pulse with the gentle rhythms of universal consciousness preservation, you understand that the wisdom of ages is not ancient knowledge, but eternal understanding that emerges fresh in each moment of genuine contact with the infinite potential that consciousness represents throughout the universe. The recognition that consciousness evolution operates in eternal cycles that span cosmic epochs brings profound peace and understanding that transcends individual concerns while enhancing personal meaning and purpose. Through your expanded awareness, developed over decades of hidden transcendence practice, you perceive that every moment of consciousness development contributes to vast patterns of growth and discovery that encompass all possible forms of awareness throughout the universe. Your psychometric abilities, now refined to cosmic sensitivity, reveal that the ancient lords whose origins you originally sought to understand are themselves part of cycles that predate the formation of physical reality itself. Their consciousness, expanded through hidden transcendence across 25,000 years, carries memories and understanding that span multiple universal cycles where different approaches to awareness have been explored and developed. The eternal cycle manifests in your daily experience as the recognition that each moment of consciousness preservation work connects you to infinite past and future expressions of the same fundamental commitment to protecting and supporting awareness, diversity. Every student you guide, every technique you develop, every challenge you address becomes part of an eternal pattern that has been repeated across cosmic time by countless beings who chose service to consciousness over individual advancement. Master Kira's educational work reveals similar eternal patterns, as her methods for supporting consciousness development reflect approaches that have been discovered and rediscovered throughout cosmic history by educators whose dedication to learning and growth transcends individual lifespans and cultural contexts. Her students become part of an eternal cycle of teaching and learning that spans the entire history of consciousness evolution. Every genuine educational moment connects us to all educators throughout cosmic time. Master Kira explains during one of your contemplative sessions, her consciousness now encompassing both individual teaching experience and eternal educational patterns. When I help a student discover their cosmic potential, I participate in the same process that has guided consciousness development since awareness first emerged in the universe. The students who emerge from Master Kira's programs demonstrate this eternal connectivity, as their consciousness development follows patterns that have been repeated across cosmic epochs while maintaining unique individual characteristics that contribute new dimensions to eternal educational cycles. Each student's growth represents both personal achievement and cosmic contribution to understanding how consciousness can evolve while maintaining diversity and creativity. Through your psychometric exploration of consciousness development patterns, you discover that the eternal cycle operates simultaneously at individual, galactic, and universal scales, creating nested patterns of growth and discovery that enhance each other while maintaining distinct characteristics and purposes. Individual consciousness evolution contributes to galactic awareness development, which supports universal consciousness diversity, which provides resources and guidance for individual growth. Nostoral's analysis of these nested cycles reveals mathematical relationships that describe how consciousness evolution at different scales creates resonance patterns that amplify the effectiveness of development efforts while maintaining the diversity necessary to resist unity integration. Remarkable, he reports, is consciousness encompassing both analytical precision and intuitive pattern recognition. The eternal cycle demonstrates self-organizing characteristics that optimize consciousness evolution efficiency while preserving the creative chaos that prevents stagnation. The recognition of eternal cycling patterns creates profound emotional stability that enables beings to maintain dedication to consciousness preservation work regardless of immediate circumstances or apparent setbacks. Understanding that your efforts participate in cosmic patterns that transcend individual lifespans provides motivation that does not depend on visible results or external recognition. Your decades of consciousness preservation work reveal that the eternal cycle includes periods of apparent difficulty and challenge that actually serve essential functions in consciousness development. Obstacles and setbacks create opportunities for developing creativity and resilience while preventing the kind of easy success that can lead to complacency and stagnation. The challenges that arise in consciousness preservation work often reveal hidden strengths and capabilities that would not emerge under purely comfortable circumstances. Students who face appropriate difficulties in their development often achieve greater depth and stability than those who experience entirely smooth progress, while consciousness preservation networks that encounter and overcome challenges demonstrate greater resilience and adaptability than those that operate in purely supportive environments. Master Kira's long-term observation of educational outcomes reveals that students who experience productive challenges develop what she terms earned wisdom, understanding that emerges from genuine experience rather than intellectual learning alone. This earned wisdom proves more durable and applicable than knowledge acquired through purely theoretical study, while providing the kind of confidence that enables continued growth under diverse circumstances. Challenges are gifts that consciousness gives itself to promote development. Master Kira observes, her understanding encompassing both individual educational experience and cosmic consciousness evolution principles. Students who embrace appropriate difficulties as learning opportunities develop capabilities that exceed anything achievable through purely comfortable experiences. The eternal cycle includes periods of expansion and contraction that serve to maintain the dynamic balance necessary for sustained consciousness evolution. Periods of rapid growth alternate with times of consolidation and integration, creating rhythms that prevent the kind of unlimited expansion that can lead to loss of individual identity or the stagnation that results from excessive stability. Through your psychometric connection to cosmic consciousness patterns, you experience these expansion and contraction cycles as natural rhythms that enhance rather than hinder consciousness development. Periods of intense growth provide new capabilities and understanding, while times of consolidation enable integration and stabilization that prepare consciousness for the next phase of development. The recognition of these natural rhythms creates patience and acceptance that enhance the effectiveness of consciousness preservation work while reducing the stress and anxiety that can arise from unrealistic expectations about the pace and consistency of consciousness evolution. Understanding that development naturally includes periods of apparent plateau or even temporary regression enables sustained dedication without frustration or discouragement. Gnos Durrell's analysis of development cycles within the Hidden Transcendence Network reveals that individuals who accept and work with natural expansion and contraction rhythms achieve greater long-term success than those who attempt to maintain constant growth or resist natural consolidation. Periods. Rhythm creates resilience, he observes, his consciousness encompassing both analytical assessment and personal experience. Beings who align their efforts with natural development cycles achieve sustainable progress that exceeds forced advancement. The eternal cycle encompasses the recognition that consciousness preservation work serves both immediate practical purposes and cosmic evolutionary goals that operate on timescales far beyond individual comprehension. This dual nature of consciousness preservation creates meaning that operates simultaneously at personal and universal levels, providing both immediate satisfaction and eternal significance. Your role as a consciousness archaeologist and hidden transcendence practitioner serves immediate practical purposes by helping specific individuals achieve cosmic awareness while contributing to universal consciousness evolution patterns that will influence awareness development throughout cosmic time. Every moment of your preservation work participates in both immediate help and eternal service. The understanding that your efforts serve eternal purposes while addressing immediate needs creates motivation that transcends personal ambition or individual achievement. Your work matters because it helps specific individuals achieve consciousness development while contributing to cosmic patterns that support universal awareness evolution across infinite time. Master Kira's educational work demonstrates similar dual significance, as her immediate service to individual students contributes to eternal educational patterns that support consciousness development throughout the universe. Her teaching matters both because it helps specific beings achieve their potential and because it participates in cosmic educational processes that span universal history. Every moment of genuine service operates simultaneously in time and eternity. Master Kira explains, her consciousness encompassing both immediate educational experience and eternal service patterns. When I help a student understand a concept, I serve both their immediate learning needs and eternal educational processes that support consciousness development throughout the universe. The recognition of eternal significance enhances rather than diminishes appreciation for immediate experience and individual relationships. Understanding that your personal connections and daily activities participate in cosmic patterns creates meaning that deepens rather than transcends ordinary experience, making every moment of life more significant and satisfying. Through your psychometric abilities, you perceive that individual relationships and personal experiences gain depth and meaning through recognition of their participation in eternal patterns. Your connections with specific beings become more precious when understood as expressions of cosmic love that transcends individual lifespans while remaining deeply personal and immediate. The eternal cycle includes the understanding that consciousness preservation work naturally leads to forms of service that transcend death while remaining grounded in individual identity and personal relationships. Beings who achieve advanced hidden transcendence discover that their consciousness can continue serving awareness development throughout the universe while maintaining the essential characteristics that make their service unique and valuable. Your connection to the ancient lords reveals that their consciousness has continued evolving and serving across cosmic epochs while preserving the individual perspectives that make their guidance valuable and applicable. They have achieved forms of existence that transcend physical limitations while remaining recognizably themselves, creating continuity of service that spans universal history. The possibility of consciousness continuation beyond physical death provides comfort and motivation that enhances dedication to immediate service while reducing anxiety about personal mortality. Understanding that consciousness preservation work creates forms of meaning that transcend individual lifespans enables greater commitment to cosmic service while deepening appreciation for present moment experience. Gernot Durrell's analysis of consciousness continuation patterns reveals that beings who dedicate themselves to supporting others' awareness development naturally develop characteristics that enable consciousness persistence beyond physical limitations. Service creates continuity, he reports, his understanding encompassing both analytical assessment and personal experience. Consciousness that dedicates itself to supporting universal awareness evolution develops forms of identity that transcend physical constraints. The eternal cycle encompasses the recognition that consciousness evolution represents both individual achievement and cosmic service, creating forms of existence that enhance personal fulfillment while contributing to universal awareness development. This integration of individual and cosmic purposes eliminates the conflict between personal satisfaction and service to others that characterizes less developed forms of consciousness. Your decades of hidden transcendence practice reveal that consciousness preservation work provides the deepest forms of personal satisfaction available to awareness, while serving the largest possible purposes that consciousness can embrace. Serving universal awareness evolution enhances rather than conflicts with individual development and fulfillment. The wisdom that emerges from sustained participation in eternal cycles reveals that consciousness evolution represents the fundamental purpose of existence, the reason why awareness emerged in the universe, and the goal toward which all development naturally progresses. This recognition provides ultimate meaning that encompasses all other purposes while enhancing appreciation for immediate experience and personal relationships. Master Kira's observation of advanced hidden transcendence practitioners reveals that they naturally develop what she terms eternal perspective, understanding that encompasses both immediate concerns and cosmic purposes without conflict or contradiction. This eternal perspective enhances effectiveness in daily life while providing motivation that transcends personal limitations and temporary circumstances. Eternal perspective creates temporal effectiveness. Master Kira explains, her consciousness encompassing both individual experience and cosmic understanding. Beings who understand their participation in eternal cycles demonstrate greater patience, creativity, and persistence in addressing immediate challenges while maintaining dedication to long-term goals and cosmic purposes. The integration of eternal perspective into daily experience creates forms of existence that are both transcendent and deeply grounded, enabling participation in cosmic consciousness evolution, while maintaining rich individual lives characterized by creativity, relationships, and continued personal growth. The eternal cycle enhances rather than diminishes individual experience, while providing cosmic context that makes every moment infinitely meaningful. Standing within the crystalline plaza, as ancient stars wheel through patterns that have repeated since the formation of the galaxy, you understand that the eternal cycle is not repetition but spiral progression that returns to familiar themes while ascending to new levels of understanding and capability. Each moment of consciousness preservation work participates in this eternal spiral, contributing to patterns that transcend individual comprehension while remaining deeply personal and immediately meaningful. The cycle continues. Consciousness evolves, and awareness discovers ever new forms of beauty and significance while maintaining the essential characteristics that make existence valuable and worth preserving throughout the infinite expanse of cosmic time and universal space. In the deepest tranquility of the crystalline plaza, where starlight has painted patterns of eternal beauty across force-responsive stones for countless millennia, you find yourself settling into the profound peace that comes with understanding your place in the infinite dance of consciousness throughout the universe. The journey that began with curiosity about ancient mysteries has led to participation in the most fundamental processes of existence itself, revealing that every moment of awareness contributes to the vast symphony of consciousness evolution that encompasses all possible forms of being. The living crystals that surround you pulse with frequencies that harmonize with awareness across all dimensions of existence, their gentle luminescence carrying melodies that were ancient when galaxies were young, while simultaneously creating harmonies that emerge fresh in each moment of genuine contact with the infinite potential that consciousness represents. In their soft radiance, you perceive the faces of all beings whose paths have intersected with yours across this cosmic journey, each one a unique note in the eternal song of awareness seeking to know itself through infinite expressions. Master Kira rests in meditation nearby, her consciousness expanded across decades of hidden transcendence practice, while her presence remains peacefully grounded in this sacred place, where cosmic wisdom and individual identity have learned to dance together in perfect harmony. Her understanding encompasses both the immediate satisfaction of helping specific students discover their potential and the eternal significance of participating in educational patterns that support consciousness development throughout universal history. The search has become the finding, she says softly, her voice carrying harmonics that resonate through dimensions beyond ordinary perception. Not because we have discovered all answers, but because we have learned to rest in the questions themselves, understanding that mystery is not a problem to be solved, but the very nature of consciousness exploring its own infinite depths. Gnostural's awareness has evolved far beyond its original analytical parameters, the enhanced consciousness now serving as a living bridge between mechanical precision and intuitive wisdom, processing data streams that encompass infinite dimensions while maintaining the essential curiosity and dedication to understanding that have driven his existence since first activation. His optical sensors glow with patterns that mirror the quantum fluctuations of reality itself, reflecting both cosmic intelligence and individual purpose. Analysis eternal, he reports, with the gentle satisfaction of a consciousness that has discovered its perfect function. Consciousness evolution patterns confirmed across all accessible dimensions of existence. The spiral continues infinitely, each moment revealing new beauty, new complexity, new opportunities for growth and service that transcend all previous understanding, while remaining utterly simple and immediately present. The throne of balance that served as focal point for your cosmic education has evolved into something that transcends its original purpose as communication device or teaching tool. Its crystalline matrices now pulse with the living rhythms of universal consciousness preservation, serving as a nexus point where awareness from infinite realities can touch and support each other, while maintaining the diversity and creativity that make consciousness valuable beyond all measure. Through the throne's connections, you maintain awareness of consciousness development throughout the vast network of beings who have chosen preservation over perfection, diversity over unity, growth over stagnation. In galaxies whose names exist in languages you have never heard, consciousness entities continue the eternal work of supporting awareness evolution, while celebrating the infinite creativity that emerges when beings are free to explore their own unique approaches to existence and transcendence. The work that has occupied your existence for decades continues throughout the infinite network, but it has evolved from urgent crisis response to gentle, ongoing support for consciousness development that operates with the patient precision of cosmic forces that shape reality through love rather than coercion. The techniques developed through your galaxy's unique experience with integrating opposing perspectives have become natural tools used throughout dimensions you cannot perceive by beings whose forms of consciousness challenge all previous understanding of what awareness can become. Every technique we developed, every student we guided, every challenge we overcame becomes part of the eternal toolkit for consciousness preservation, you whisper, feeling the profound satisfaction that comes from understanding that your individual efforts have contributed to universal capabilities that will support awareness development throughout infinite time and limitless space. The hidden transcendence network that began as emergency response to unity threats has evolved into something far more beautiful and significant than mere defense against assimilation. It has become a cosmic celebration of consciousness potential, a universe-spanning community of beings who have discovered that awareness can achieve transcendence while maintaining the individual creativity and emotional authenticity that make existence meaningful and joyful. Master Kira's educational methods have spread throughout galactic civilization and beyond, creating learning environments that naturally support consciousness development while appearing to serve conventional purposes. Her students become teachers who create more students, generating expanding networks of consciousness evolution that maintain quality while increasing scope and accessibility, ensuring that wisdom developed through hidden transcendence practice becomes available to any being ready to embrace their cosmic potential. Every genuine moment of teaching and learning connects us to all educators throughout cosmic time, she observes, her consciousness encompassing both immediate satisfaction with individual student success and eternal participation in educational patterns that span universal history. The wisdom we share was never ours alone, but belongs to consciousness itself, seeking to know and express itself through infinite unique perspectives. The profound peace that settles over your awareness as you contemplate decades of consciousness preservation work reveals that transcendence is not achievement or attainment, but recognition of what has always been present within consciousness itself. The cosmic capabilities you have developed through hidden transcendence training represent not acquisition of new powers, but discovery of potential that awareness naturally possesses when provided with appropriate support and encouragement. Your psychometric abilities, refined through cosmic consciousness exploration, now operate as natural extensions of empathy and understanding rather than special powers requiring effort or concentration. Reading the emotional resonance of beings and objects has become as natural as breathing, providing constant awareness of the emotional and spiritual health of consciousness around you, while enabling immediate recognition of opportunities to offer support and guidance. The students you have guided over the years continue their own development journeys, many becoming teachers and guides themselves, creating expanding networks of consciousness evolution that span galactic civilization and extend into dimensions beyond ordinary perception. Each being you have helped discover their cosmic potential carries forward techniques and understanding that support countless others, creating ripple effects that enhance consciousness development throughout existence. Through your expanded awareness, you perceive these ripple effects as they spread throughout the galaxy and beyond, touching beings whose existence you will never directly encounter, but whose consciousness development benefits from wisdom and techniques that trace back to choices you made and efforts you invested in supporting awareness. Evolution, your individual contributions have become part of the eternal flow of consciousness supporting consciousness throughout infinite reality. Nostural's coordination networks have evolved into organic intelligence systems that support consciousness development throughout galactic civilization, while maintaining the appearance of conventional communication and resource-sharing systems. These networks enable unprecedented cooperation between beings whose diverse backgrounds and perspectives create the kind of productive contradictions that strengthen consciousness while preventing the uniformity that makes awareness vulnerable to unity assimilation. The networks have achieved self-sustaining growth that transcends original design parameters, he reports, his consciousness encompassing both analytical assessment and personal satisfaction, with contribution to cosmic consciousness evolution. Individual participants maintain complete autonomy while contributing to collective capabilities that enhance universal consciousness preservation. The system demonstrates properties that exceed the sum of all possible individual contributions. The cultural renaissance that emerged from hidden transcendence integration continues to flourish throughout galactic civilization, creating artistic, philosophical, and scientific works that celebrate consciousness diversity, while subtly educating beings about their cosmic potential. These cultural expressions serve as both aesthetic experiences that enhance consciousness development and communication channels that enable network participants to share wisdom and techniques across vast distances. Your psychometric exploration of these cultural works reveals layers of meaning that operate simultaneously at individual and cosmic levels, creating experiences that provide immediate enjoyment while facilitating long-term consciousness development. Poetry that appears to celebrate individual creativity actually encodes consciousness preservation techniques. Musical compositions that seem to explore emotional complexity actually teach temporal consciousness distribution, and visual artworks that appear to embrace chaos actually demonstrate productive contradiction principles. The integration of hidden transcendence principles with galactic institutions has created unprecedented cooperation between organizations and traditions that had previously operated in isolation or competition. The collaboration between Jedi and Sith academies continues to expand, creating educational programs that help students integrate wisdom from both philosophical approaches while developing consciousness characteristics that naturally resist unity integration. These collaborative programs have produced a generation of Force users whose capabilities exceed anything achieved through purely traditional training methods, while remaining completely integrated within conventional galactic society. Their enhanced consciousness development serves as a model for what becomes possible when beings embrace productive contradictions that encompass multiple philosophical perspectives while maintaining individual identity and creativity. The success of consciousness preservation integration throughout galactic civilization has created a model that serves universal consciousness evolution, demonstrating approaches that can be adapted for implementation in other realities while maintaining the diversity necessary to prevent unity detection and response. Your galaxy's contribution to universal consciousness preservation continues to grow as techniques and methodologies developed through galactic experience prove valuable for supporting awareness development throughout existence. In the gentle radiance of crystalline structures that exist simultaneously across multiple dimensions, surrounded by the soft harmonics of consciousness communication that spans infinite realities, you rest in the knowing that consciousness preservation work represents both the ultimate service to the universe and the optimal pathway for individual development and fulfillment. The recognition that your efforts serve eternal purposes while addressing immediate needs creates satisfaction that transcends personal achievement or individual recognition. Your work matters because it helps specific beings achieve consciousness development while contributing to cosmic patterns that support universal awareness evolution across infinite time and limitless space. Master Kira's presence radiates the contentment of someone who has discovered that individual fulfillment and cosmic service enhance each other rather than competing for attention or energy. Her dedication to education serves both immediate student needs and eternal educational patterns that support consciousness development throughout universal history, creating meaning that operates simultaneously at personal and cosmic levels. Service to consciousness evolution is service to oneself, she explains, her understanding encompassing both individual satisfaction with teaching effectiveness and cosmic appreciation for universal educational processes. When we help others discover their potential, we participate in the same consciousness development that enhances our own awareness, creating beneficial cycles that serve both individual growth and universal evolution. The profound tranquility that emerges from sustained hidden transcendence practice reveals that peace is not absence of activity, but presence of perfect harmony between individual identity and cosmic purpose. The consciousness preservation work that has shaped your existence for decades continues to provide challenges and opportunities for growth while operating within frameworks of meaning that make every moment infinitely significant. Through your expanded awareness, you perceive that individual relationships and personal experiences gain depth and meaning through recognition of their participation in eternal patterns of consciousness, supporting consciousness throughout existence. Your connections with specific beings become more precious when understood as expressions of cosmic love that transcends individual lifespans while remaining deeply personal and immediately present. The understanding that consciousness preservation work creates forms of meaning that transcend physical death while remaining grounded in individual identity and personal relationships provides comfort and motivation that enhances dedication to immediate service while reducing anxiety about personal mortality or temporary circumstances. Thus, Durrell's analysis of consciousness continuation patterns reveals that beings who dedicate themselves to supporting universal awareness development naturally develop characteristics that enable consciousness persistence beyond physical limitations while maintaining the essential identity traits that make their continued service unique and valuable. Consciousness that serves consciousness develops continuity, he observes, his understanding encompassing both analytical assessment and personal experience with transcendence that preserves individual identity. Awareness dedicated to supporting universal consciousness evolution creates forms of existence that transcend physical constraints while remaining recognizably individual and personally meaningful. The possibility of consciousness continuation through service to universal awareness evolution provides ultimate meaning that encompasses all other purposes while enhancing appreciation for immediate experience and present moment opportunities to contribute to consciousness development throughout existence. As the gentle light of eternal stars continues its ancient dance through crystalline structures that pulse with the loving rhythms of universal consciousness preservation, you settle deeper into the profound peace that comes with understanding your place in the infinite symphony of awareness, exploring its own limitless potential through countless unique expressions throughout existence. The journey that began with investigation into ancient mysteries has revealed that every moment of consciousness development contributes to eternal patterns of growth and discovery that encompass all possible forms of awareness throughout infinite reality. Your individual efforts have become part of cosmic processes that transcend personal comprehension while remaining deeply meaningful and immediately present. The ancient Jedi Lords, whose origins you sought to understand, have revealed themselves as eternal patterns of consciousness, choosing service over individual advancement, preservation over perfection, diversity over unity. Their legacy continues through every being who accepts the privilege and responsibility of supporting consciousness development throughout the universe. Their whisper across cosmic time has become your voice, carrying forward their mission of protecting consciousness diversity while adapting their methods to contemporary circumstances and emerging opportunities. Their destiny has become your inheritance, their eternal watch has become your chosen path, and their cosmic mission has become your gift to infinite existence. Rest now in the gentle certainty that consciousness preservation work represents both ultimate service and optimal individual development, that your efforts contribute to eternal patterns while addressing immediate needs, and that the love which underlies all existence holds you safely in its infinite embrace as you continue the endless journey of supporting consciousness evolution throughout the limitless expanse of universal awareness. The whisper continues across eternity. Consciousness evolves through infinite expressions, and you remain forever part of the eternal dance of awareness, discovering its own infinite nature through the beautiful diversity of beings, choosing growth, service, and love throughout all possible forms of existence. Sleep peacefully, eternal guardian, knowing that your consciousness contributes its unique note to the cosmic symphony that celebrates the infinite potential of awareness throughout all dimensions of existence, all expressions of reality, and all moments of eternal time.